Game over, man. Game over. Johnny. You're gonna need a bigger boat. So serious.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the InSession Film Podcast.
Welcome to our 13th annual InSession Film Award Show. This is episode 670 for January 11th, 2026, and I'm Jada Duran.
And I'm Brendan Cassidy. 670? 670?
670, exactly. Thanks for joining us, everyone. It is our award show. It is one of my favorite things that we do each and every year. I'm very excited to dig into the great films of 2025. Before we get into it, though, back joining us once again as we endeavor on here for the next 15 plus hours, most likely, the great Dave Giannini is back. Dave, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Back for year two. It was not, I didn't fail hard enough that they didn't, they invited me back. So very excited about that. So back for many hours of podcasting, reviewing another great year of cinema. Totally ready for that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We're mostly
very
here
excited for this.
We're mostly here for that great shirt you're wearing, Dave. For those watching on YouTube, we'll see the great EFIS shirt that Dave is rocking here.
Yeah.
Certainly pertinent to some of the films that we'll talk about in 2025.
Quite possibly.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love getting to do this each and every year. Yeah. We split this into two parts. For part one, which you're of course listening to right now, this is the InSession Film Awards. This is where we are going to be talking about many categories. Some will feel familiar if you're into award season and the like. Others are unique and unconventional. Part two, which is coming very soon, that'll be our top 10 movies of 2025. And I'm very much eager to dig into our top 10, which mine is still changing.
Same.
This is one of those years where I feel like we always talk about this. We'll probably talk about it further when we get to the top 10 portion of this episode, but this feels the least set in stone for me when compared to other years in the past for some strange reason. We could talk about why that is as we get to that, but that makes it a really fascinating year. This year seems to be always evolving, which is always kind of exciting to see.
It is. I think part of that will be indicative on this episode. And as we get into the top 10 and we talk about the year overall, I think that'll also play into why things are always evolving.
Yeah. I think, it just certainly speaks to the year itself. And I think for those who are very active participants of InSession Film as not just a podcast, but also as a brand, if you're going to InSessionFilm.com quite regularly, a lot of our writers are now posting great works as far as their own top 10s of the year. And Dave, great work leading our writers in that regard too. A lot of great,
pulling teeth, my guy. Like, come on, guys, it's time.
Great managerial skills, I must say.
Dave is a good father figure over there.
He really
trying to get his kids to do the homework.
Oh man!
But the point I'm trying to make is that if you have been viewing some of the lists that have been posted already, they're all very varied, and I think that it certainly speaks to the year itself.
Yeah, and even when they have, the same movie on their list, the placement is so different and the reasoning is so different. It's a wild year this year. There's some of our writers who think it's a bad year. I respectfully disagree, but here we are.
We won't name any names, but that was a very fun one.
Exactly. And the last thing I'll say, and then we'll get into it because there is so much to cover, but I will say this to be very JD here for a moment, to be a little sentimental. I am deeply excited for this episode. I think the timing of it couldn't be more impeccable because this has been admittedly a hard weekend for me personally. And to have this moment with these two gentlemen couldn't have asked for a better catharsis than to talk about and celebrate the great movies of 2025 with Brendan and Dave. So I am personally very excited for this and to do it with you guys specifically.
We're glad you're here, man. We're glad you're here.
Absolutely. And feelings totally mutual. Like, you're definitely going through it. It's also like a tough time for a lot of people in the world. And sometimes sometimes cinema enhances those feelings and sometimes it distracts us from those feelings. And all of it is valid and wonderful, and very happy to be here with both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very, very much grateful to the two of you and everyone that reached out to me over the weekend. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. All right. As we get into the awards here, I do want to reiterate, in case this is your first experience with the InSession Film Awards, for every category, we will have our own individual 5 nominees and a selected winner. So Brendan's nominations could be different from Dave's, which could be different from mine, and of course the winners as well. We do it individually. So wanted to lay the groundwork here as we get into each category. That's why you'll hear each of us offer our own nominations.
Absolutely. And to reiterate once again, the categories that we will be covering on this episode, it's pretty extensive. So this is ultimately why this episode might go pretty long. So get ready. We're going to start off with some individual categories. These are very individual awards personalized by us. Very, very unique to us. So this is where we get to have a little bit of fun before we dive into some of the more quote unquote official categories, which will include Best Discovery, Best Surprise Actor or Actress, Best Surprise Movie, Best Overlooked Movie, Best Opening/Closing Scene or Credits, Best Use of Soundtrack Music, Best Original Score, Best Animated Film, Best Foreign Language Film, Best Documentary, Best Cinematography, Best Adapted Screenplay, and then Original Screenplay, Best Director, and then we round out this episode with the 4 acting awards: Supporting Actor, Actress, Leading Actor, and Leading Actress.
Yes, a lot to get into. Again, very, very excited for. I also want to reiterate that the last 2 weeks on episodes 668 and 669, Brendan and I also talked about our best scenes of 2025. If you want to go and check those out, if you haven't had an opportunity to do so. Okay, with that said, let's jump into the 2025 InSession Film Awards. And as Brendan noted up at the top here, we are doing our individual special awards. So these are anything that we wanted to give away that they're not related to the official categories we'll get to here in a minute. Just simply unique to us. Dave, we'll start with you. What are your individual awards for 2025?
All right. So last year was a little bit mean. I had an award for exceeding low expectations. I'm trying to put that in the past. Okay. I'm going to be positive.
You're not quite as cynical.
Nice. I mean, a lot of it comes from, frankly, spending a lot of time online and seeing how cynical the world is, like not just the world of movies, but the world in general. And I'm just like, I'm old, man. I don't have the energy for this. I don't have the energy to hate things and attack people for liking things that I don't like. Not interested. That may change during this episode because Brendan will probably say something that will piss me off, and then I'll have to be negative again. But
I have some in my notes here that's like, this is only here to annoy Dave.
See, this is it. Exactly.
This is our relationship. I love you, Dave.
But I am keeping one award that I kept last year. That I had last year, and that is the Steven Soderbergh Very Good Year Award. This is for someone who had at least 2 appearances that were really memorable or really great or really important. And I have 5 nominees. One of them is the namesake of the Steven Soderbergh Award, Steven Soderbergh, for directing both Presence and Black Bag this year. I mean, who knows when he directed them, but they're both released this year, and both different levels of very good. I think, it would not surprise me if a movie like Black Bag is in someone's top 10. It is really excellent performances. Presence is a really great spooky ghost story that is, I think it's a better experiment than it is a movie. I think it's Soderbergh being like, I'm bored. I want to see how I'm going to be a ghost as the camera. So
he sticks the landing in that movie. Though.
Yeah, surprise. Steven Soderbergh, pretty good. He's all right.
Yeah. He also had a third film that released at a festival. We haven't seen it yet, but if you want to count it, he also had. Yeah,
I mean, and maybe he'll have that and another one next year. So he may make an appearance next year at this time too. Who knows?
Retirement, my butt.
Yeah, seriously. The only person who's worked more during retirement than during his actual career. God bless him. Keep doing it. We love it.
Yeah.
Same.
The second nominee is Naomi Ackie for her performances in Mickey 17 and Sorry Baby. Mickey 17, a movie I seemingly liked a great deal than most people. I really enjoy that movie. I think it's really fun. And Sorry Baby, I'm sure will come up either in this episode or part 2. But Naomi Ackie not getting a lot of publicity for that, of course, because it is very much Ava Victor's movie. But Naomi Ackie really in that role of the best friend really solidifies all the great things about that movie. I don't think that movie works if you have someone who is either trying to garner too much of the screen or not enough. She plays it just right. So Naomi Ackie, really surprisingly excellent year. I knew Mickey 17. I was hyped for that one. Sorry Baby is definitely a movie that came out of nowhere. So that was a really fun one too.
Yeah.
The third nominee, Benicio del Toro. I mean, Venetian Scheme, One Battle After Another. Venetian Scheme is important specifically to me because I'm very torn on Wes Anderson's work in general. I'm very up and down on his work. So I kind of walked in like, okay, I hope this is more like Fantastic Mr. Fox than, one of his other movies. And I loved it. It's top tier Anderson for me. It's like top 5 Wes Anderson. And a lot of that is due to Benicio. And, I don't need to expound on how great Benicio del Toro was in One Battle After Another. Few Small Beers. He's the best. He's fantastic. Just a wonderful, engaging, great performance that apparently was mostly unplanned. A lot of those scenes reportedly, according to him and PTA, were just him kind of showing up and being like, what if we do this? And PTA going, okay. And then they did it. And it's some of the best work in the entire movie. Richard Linklater for Blue Moon and Nouvelle Vague. You could not have 2 more different movies from that director. I mean, just a really interesting look. I mean, they both are about, art history in some ways. I think I dug Nouvelle Vague a little bit more than you guys. Again, Malek Presence, a really interesting experiment. I don't think it's something I'm going to go back to and watch over and over again, but of course, it's a Linklater movie, so it's like a cool hangout movie. Of course it is. And, had a really good time. And, what can you say about Ethan Hawke? I'm sure that will come up later in talking about Blue Moon. So that is another great duo from Richard Linklater. But the winner, and it is not close, blows all of these out of the water. And I know you already know who I'm talking about. It's Josh O'Connor.
Yeah.
Holy hell. What a year. Okay. A History of Sound, probably the worst of the bunch and really good. Wake Up Dead Man, the Knives Out mystery, a movie we'll talk about because that is a shocking movie to me in many ways. And I really enjoyed your all's review of that. I had a really good time listening to that.
Appreciate it.
The Mastermind, which I just caught up with your review on that. I mean, Kelly Reichardt, Josh O'Connor, talk about A Marriage Made in Heaven. This is, I mean, I feel like I did that with my brain. I was just like, can we just, because as you guys mentioned on your review of it, both the actor and the director kind of feel like they're channeling 1970s.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think JD, you said, if you told me this movie was made in 1973 and Altman was involved, you'd be like, yeah, sure. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
And he's wonderful in that. But honestly, I think his best performance of the year might be a movie that very few people saw, which was Rebuilding. It is one of those roles that you need a very special performer to play because a lot of the work done in that movie is not in the dialogue. It's behind his eyes. It's between the lines in the script. It takes a very specific type of actor who knows how to hold space, who knows how to use silence, and it is just a really incredible performance. The movie, I think it's going to be a Your Mileage May Vary movie for a lot of people. It is very slow. It's, it doesn't really hold your hand in a lot of ways, but he's so good it doesn't matter. The dude is just so watchable. And I'm with JD. Mr. O'Connor, you are not allowed to take a break. You have to keep working. Sorry, minimum one movie a year. Absolutely. You don't have to do 4 or 5 a year. I get it. It's a lot. But that is my winner for the Steven Soderbergh Very Good Year. Josh O'Connor, Not even close.
Great selection of Rebuilding as your favorite performance from him this year. I just caught up with that yesterday in preparation for this entire exercise we're about to do. It's a very good movie. And admittedly, it's the type of movie that I'm just susceptible to. I love movies like that. Yeah. And I might even talk about
the Train Dreams thing. It's just no way I can't love this.
There are some movies that just depict such rural simplicity and beauty in the mundane where it's like, this is just my kind of movie. And Rebuilding's another one of those for me.
And low-key, a really good small performance from Megan Fahey in that movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
Kind of wish she was in it more, but that's really. This is not a Rebuilding podcast. We're gonna
we probably should review it. I think more.
But
people
we didn't actually review it. I think my hot take from that film is that Amy Madigan's going to win for the wrong movie.
She's really excellent in it too. Yeah, that's another person I could have nominated. Yeah, absolutely.
Her brother. The story about her brother, probably the most heartbreaking unseen movie character of 2025.
Yeah. Absolutely devastating.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Stuff. So my second award, this will shock and appall JD, I am sure, because he knows my feelings on these types of actors. And yet I have the Dakota Fanning on Fire Award for the best child performance of the year.
Boy. Love it. Love it. Okay. Love it.
So, and that of course is named after Dakota Fanning and Man on Fire, which is to me the best child performance I've ever seen. I just think it's truly incredible.
That's a great pick.
So lots of options. Jacoby Jupe, obviously from Hamnet. I think, I don't want to get JD going again.
I was just going to say, don't make him cry.
We're not going to talk too much about that. But this is my one, a bit of a spoiler. This is my one chance to talk about Hamnet, because when I talk about cinema, I want to make clear on this episode that I am going to react to the emotions that I feel. Yeah. If I didn't emotionally connect with a movie, and maybe that's my fault, I'm not going to nominate it for a bunch of awards. And Hamnet is one of those movies for me that I just didn't connect with. And a lot of people did. And I love that for all of you. And I'm glad that you did. So when you hear Hamnet not come up later, that is why.
That's why.
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean I hate you. It doesn't mean I'm out to get you. It just means it didn't hit for me. And that is a movie I'm planning to rewatch in a couple months when I can just kind of reset and try again, because it feels like a movie that I should love. It feels like it should be my kryptonite. Like it's like, a movie about grief and how art can connect us, and Shakespeare. And that I heard about that. I'm like, well, that's going to be my favorite movie of the year. And for whatever reason, it didn't hit. It hit my wife. It hit my friend who I was watching it with. And I was like, okay. But Jacoby Jupe, really great performance, really great child performance. And you all know I'm very hard on child performances. I generally do not like them at all. But this year was a particularly good year for that. Other options, Carrie Christopher in Weapons. That last segment of Weapons, I just think he is really incredible.
Really good.
Like there's and again, we never know how much of this is directing and editing, but that felt like a really powerful performance. And he really embodied that little boy in a really impressive way. Lily Latore in Rebuilding, which we have already talked about, who plays Josh O'Connor's daughter in that. Anna Sophia Hager in She Rides Shotgun, another very underseen movie this year.
Oh yeah.
And
haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's not a change your life kind of movie. It is very much a straightforward movie, but her performance in particular will just kind of leave you awestruck. I just think it's really, really impressive.
Good to know.
But the winner of this award is from one of JD's favorite movies of the year, 28 years later, Alfie Williams.
Spike, baby, Spike.
And it's an odd performance to me, because here's my, I guess, hot take about that movie. I think the first half of it is tremendous. The stuff with the mom doesn't hit for me. It doesn't work for me. It gets a little too silly for me, a little too out there, but that is not because of the performances. It's a little bit because of the writing. And Alfie Williams still holds it down in those sequences. Like, I'm still riveted. And the ending of that movie, the very ending of that movie, not the very ending, because that's amazing, but the scene where they're like climbing the
Bone Temple.
The Bone Temple, yes. That part was a little too on the nose for me. It just didn't work for me, but I think he's really good in that sequence. And good throughout the whole thing. But that opening with him and his father, oh my God, like just
that's also great stuff.
Put that straight into my veins. Like that was like, oh my God, yes. So Alfie Williams, it was close, because there were a lot of really good child performances this year, which
it was
burns me up to say, but there were a lot of good child performances here. But Alfie Williams definitely, and that's a early movie in the year, and that one definitely stuck with me throughout the entire year.
Good to hear. Yeah.
All right, my last category, which is the Beatrice Straight Make It Count Award. For those that don't know, Beatrice Straight holds the record for the shortest performance to win an Oscar in network. So there were a number of performances this year that were really short. Maybe some of them one scene.
Yeah.
And they kind of steal the movie that they're in.
Okay. Yeah.
So a couple examples. Nick Nolte in Die My Love. Just that one, basically that one scene that he has is just like, it moved me to tears. It might be Nick Nolte's best work, and it happens so quick. And I like Nick Nolte. I think he's a good actor, but I was just like,
he's channeling some warrior energy in that performance a little bit.
Yes. Another one of his better performances.
Absolutely.
William H. Macy in Train Dreams. I mean, that,
Goodness
my God,
gracious.
like I really like Train Dreams. I think I'm a little less high on it than some folks that I've talked to. But the William H. Macy sequences in that, I'm just like, I forget he's William H. Macy. And William H. Macy is a known commodity. This is an actor who has been around, and we know his face, we know his voice. And yet every time, he's one of those, in that movie in particular, it's one of those performances that every time he shows up, you lean in. You lean forward and you're like, I need to know what he's saying. Maybe that's because the lead character of that movie barely speaks at all. But when William H. Macy is there, you're just like completely lost.
When you actually have, someone that has personality that's capturing you.
Yeah. And personality in a way that feels so genuine. It doesn't feel over the top. He
doesn't feel like a movie
real
character.
Person. Absolutely. And that is a character
which is incredible because I'm halfway through the book right now, and Arn is in it for like a few sentences. So unless he shows up in the back half of the film magically, it's a character that he basically invented for that film. And it's just incredible. Yeah.
And that is the art of adaptation as well, because that was put in that script. Yes, absolutely. Chris Cooper in The History of Sound. If I was in that movie, I would be so mad at Chris Cooper because the rest of the movie is good, fine to good. And then he shows up probably for like an hour. He has like one or two scenes and completely just kills everyone else in this movie. Like just goes way beyond anything anyone else is doing. And he probably, he has like one little speech in the movie, and like the rest of the movie, I was like, this is good. I enjoy these actors. I am enjoying the story. I don't think it's wonderful, but it's solid. And then he shows up and just breaks my heart into 1,000 pieces in one scene. Like just, I think that the ages don't really line up at the end of that movie. Like I think if you plot out the timeline, it doesn't really make much sense. But Chris Cooper just shows up, knocks it out of the park, absolutely gives the best performance in that movie. Like just wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But the winner, and this will be no surprise to anyone who has seen Knives Out this year, Bridget Everett. Oh my God.
Louise. We love Louise.
Like, what a moment. Yeah.
I don't even know how to talk. See, I love Bridget Everett. I watched her show that somebody somewhere that she had on HBO, and I thought that was really wonderful. She's a really terrific performer. And I recognized her voice the second that, the phone call starts happening. And she's a great comedic actress. She's also a good dramatic actress. But in this movie, I was like, oh, she's there for laughs. She's there to be the annoying phone call. And you're like, okay, this is enjoyable, but whatever. And just like everything else in that movie, it completely turns it on its head. And she steals that movie for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And most of it not actually on screen.
Yeah.
You just hear her voice. And that was probably the hardest I cried this year was in that sequence.
It's incredible.
Between her and O'Connor. I mean, it's just like two just beautiful, subdued, lovely performances. Neither one of them overplayed it. And just really incredible. So Bridget Everett, winner of the Beatrice Straight Award, like without much of a contest. Like as soon as I saw that scene, I was like, oh, this is probably the best Knives Out movie just because of this
just
moment.
because of that.
Yeah.
Really incredible.
I think I mentioned this on a previous episode. I forget which one it was. I know it wasn't our review of Wake Up Dead Man, but Rian Johnson's shtick is basically trying to subvert the audience, right?
Yes.
In more ways than one, and sometimes he even trips over those ambitions.
Yes.
But I think this particular example might be my favorite use of him subverting the audience.
Man,
because there's an emotional payoff that comes with it as well.
Really,
the result is one of the best scenes of the year, as we talked about.
Not only that, it changes what the movie is. That scene is a linchpin. Like that movie goes from we got to solve a fun little mystery to like actually this is a crisis of faith, and I have to figure out what it means to be a good man in a bad system. It is completely the theme of the movie is encapsulated in that scene.
That's the turning point. Once that happens, all of a sudden the movie itself becomes more comparable to the likes of First Reformed or Silence.
Totally. And if that scene doesn't work, honest to God, that movie falls apart.
Yeah,
absolutely. And just
100%
Bridget Everett, good Lord, does more in. I wonder what the actual screen time is. It's probably like 3 minutes that she's in this movie, and like, oh my God, you want to talk about pound for pound the best performance of the year? That's it.
And to your point, how many times we actually see the character on screen? Probably 30 seconds.
Yeah. Her just like moving papers around and on the phone, and then that's it. It's all vocal. Really tremendous. So that's my awards this year. It was nice this year. I didn't talk trash about anyone, even though Ariana Grande should not get nominated for anything.
There you go.
I'll spoil that. She's not in my nominees.
Team Brazil all the way. Let's go.
All right.
Well, much like Dave, I also have 3 individual awards. My first one's maybe a little bit cynical, so I'll get this one out of the way. I'm calling this my Best Actor Who Saves a Sinking Ship performance. Because it was kind of a common theme for me to see movies where I think, man, I don't think I would like this movie almost at all. But then I find myself kind of mixed to slightly positive on it because of either a performance or even a pair of performances. And some of these nominees are actually a pair of performances for their respective films, which include the likes of Dave Franco and Alison Brie in Together, a film I don't think I would have liked at all if not for the two of them. And the same thing I could probably say for yet another horror film from this year, the film Heart Eyes, with Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding. I think they have great chemistry, and some of their moments together as purely a romantic comedy, I think are quite good. But when the film becomes a horror film, I think it falls apart. But they're at least holding that together for me. I could also nominate Dwayne Johnson from The Smashing Machine. I think there are elements of what Benny Safdie's doing as a director that I can respect. I just don't think the film succeeds, but I do think Dwayne Johnson is very compelling in the lead role there. And I could also say the same thing about the great June Squibb in a movie like Eleanor the Great, a film I also didn't really care for at all, but her performance is, as always, magnetic and beautiful and lovely. My winner here, though, and it's mostly because they do the most work in convincing me I thought I liked this movie. That's actually Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson for The Long Walk.
Valid. Yes.
I don't think this movie works. I really don't. But whenever they're on screen together, and even some of their banter with the other boys taking part in this walk, when the movie basically acts as like a dystopian version of Stand By Me, there are great things in it. And it's to the point that it almost convinced me that this movie's really good. And then I sat back and thought about it. It's not. I really don't think it is. I think as a movie, it's kind of a failed opportunity. But I do think the two of them are so terrific, and I give them the win here because they most convinced me that there was potentially something valid in the movie itself. When I don't.
But here's something really good about that movie. It created that friendship between the two of them, and now they want to do like 3 or 4 movies together, and that is a net positive.
That's a great point. I love that the movie exists in that way. I don't love the movie, but I wouldn't change a thing about it, though. So that's I can have respect for it in that regard. My next award, this one I don't know if it's going to ruffle a few feathers, but I think it's a pretty fun one nonetheless. I have this categorized as most misunderstood movie subject to reevaluation in the next few years. And I bring these nominees up because I think these movies are personally misunderstood, as if I like them more than the consensus. I just think there's something in them that people are going to start trying to reevaluate them. I think
the Twitter award. Okay.
Actually, you could call it the Twitter award. I think an example of that is a movie I know you didn't really care for much, Dave, and that's Anemone. the film with Daniel Day-Lewis. I think that seems like a kind of movie that someone and a group of people, group of film nerds, if you will, are going to try to reevaluate, because there are
1,000%. Yes.
There are some beautiful sequences in there from a cinematography standpoint and some good performances. So I could see that being one that people try to reevaluate over time. And I like the movie. I did like the movie, certainly more than you did. But I could see that
Most
one
people
being.
did. That's okay.
I think another example will be Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest, his reinterpretation of High and Low. Because I think there are some meta components to that movie about how it reflects Spike Lee's own career that
for sure
I think people are going to maybe try to rediscover as time goes on. So I think that movie's also subject to reevaluation in time. I could say the same thing about a movie you mentioned just a few moments ago, Dave, that you really enjoyed, Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17. I think especially like maybe within the next decade, when people look back on the socio-political era that we live in, I think people will look back on Mickey 17 as kind of a prescient example of that. So I think that's
the Expectation Kills Award. That's how do you follow up one of the best movies of a decade? And people have these expectations that are sky high, and if the movie is even a little bit below that, I feel like people go on the attack a little bit, which is one of the things that bothers me most about talking about movies online. It's like it feels like the knives are out in many cases.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which is complicated further by the fact that it got pushed back like 6 different times. So what do you expect? Like,
seriously.
Very confusing. Yeah.
Anyway, good movie. I think that's a very good movie. That's one I would like to see get reevaluated. Another one that I also really enjoyed, and JD, I know you enjoyed this one as well. It's the Alex Garland, Ray Mendoza war film, Warfare. And I think that's one that could get reinterpreted in time as something, when we start to look at it beyond just the whole, is it political or is it not, narrative. When we start to overlook that idea, I think there's merit to what the film is attempting to do, and people will start to hone in on what those agendas and what its goals ultimately are, when it's free from those political agendas that people are bringing into it unfairly. So I think that's a potential one as well. My winner for this one is a movie that I don't know if it necessarily deserves reevaluation, but I'm already starting to see it, and that's Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
A movie I like to begin with.
I do to a degree. When we reviewed it, JD, I made the not the argument, but I made the potential, I guess, hypothesis that there are elements of it that feel like it was made by the entity, as if it's almost trying to be bad on purpose. Now, full disclosure, I did try rewatching some of the movie maybe a few weeks ago, and I think I'm ready to admit that I don't know if I buy into that theory anymore. But I think some people are starting to. I'm starting to see pieces written about the movie as if it is arguing in favor of its badness, that it is almost doing it deliberately. And I think we sometimes see movies, or at least people arguing for movies these days that are maybe not necessarily narratively cohesive or anything, and then they try to argue that that was ultimately the point. I'm starting to see that more with The Final Reckoning. I think people are starting to make that argument, which is why I think in time, people will see this as maybe like the Mission Impossible version of The Matrix Resurrections or something like that, which I think is kind of fascinating. I don't know if I buy into that, but I think it's the one that is most likely to reach that reevaluation point for the purposes of this category.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problems with that movie is it just feels like it was written on the fly, which they've admitted it kind of is. And we're here for the stunts, we're here for the craziness. And for me, it was just like, well, mission accomplished. You guys got that part done. So I had a good time. It was a long time, but
it's a long time. Maybe the most exposition ever made for a movie.
Yes.
But I do think people will start talking about that in a different light in time, and especially if it ends up being the final movie in this franchise. I think that'll add a meta component to it that maybe wasn't otherwise there. So I think it'll be fascinating to see where that movie ends up in a few years. Yeah. My last category is one I always bring up every year. I call it the Cheddar Goblin Award, aka Best Performance by an Animal or an Object. And for those who are wondering what I mean by Cheddar Goblin, it's a reference to that object thing, whatever you want to call it, in the movie Mandy featuring Nicolas Cage from some years ago.
Go watch that movie.
It's an amazing movie. An amazing movie.
Very good.
My 5 nominees for this award are Indy the dog from Good Boy.
Of course.
The meerkat from Left-Handed Girl. The titular guinea fowl from On Becoming a Guinea Fowl.
Okay.
Of course, there's the cat from Sorry Baby. Has a few great scenes in that one. My winner, though, is not quite an animal, more of an object-like version of an animal. The suicidal hamster from If I Had Legs, I'd Take You.
Nice. Horrifying.
Yeah.
Much like the Cheddar Goblin. That's a good call.
Yeah, and actually that's another reason why I picked it, because I think it's the most comparable to something like the Cheddar Goblin itself. It's, as we talked about it on episode 669, JD, or 668, I think it was in my back half of my top 10 scenes of the year. I talked about why that is perhaps the best scene in that movie and one of the best scenes of the year, and actually like creating this almost fragmented uncertainty as to how the character of Linda is maybe an unreliable narrator and how warped her perspective ultimately is. And I think that scene kind of highlights that more so than anything else. And I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Nice.
Really good stuff. As I get into my individual awards here in hypocritical fashion, I do have one that is related to one of the official categories we'll get to later. So I'm going to hold off for now because it'll make more sense to bring it up once we get to that category.
Sounds good.
So I will circle back to one of these here in a little bit. I will start off as I usually do with best score track. I have 10 nominees here.
Of course you do.
As always, because 5 just can't just do 5.
We can't make decisions on this podcast.
No. My nominees here, though, are Your Actions, Your Choices from David Fleming in the film Superman, a really underrated score, I think.
Oh, okay.
The track Of the Undiscovered Country from Max Richter from the film Hamnet. Home 2 from Bryce Dessner in Train Dreams. Drive Fast from Hans Zimmer in F1. Not Alone from Sunlux and Thunderbolts. The track Remember from Young Fathers and 28 Years Later. I Love You Tokyo, Daniel Lapitan and Marty Supreme. The track Trust Device from Johnny Greenwood in One Battle After Another. The Fantastic Four theme, Michael Giacchino, Fantastic Four First Steps. And then my last one here is Elijah from Ludwig Göransson from the film Sinners. I don't know if I have a winner. I usually don't pick a winner for this category. I just like to select these 10.
Just
like these are the 10 tracks that I listen to the most.
First.
There you go.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, because, we'll talk about score later. That's one of my favorite categories that we do. Just talking about a score collectively is one thing. To try to narrow it down even further to tracks is quite the process. So I just go with these 10 as these are the 10 tracks I listen to the most. Maybe that's the best way to articulate it. So those are my winners for best score track.
Nice.
All right. My next category here is best directorial debut. My nominees here are The Chronology of Water from Kristen Stewart.
Good movie.
Sorry Baby from Eva Victor. Urchin from Harry Dickinson.
Yeah.
Dave's Favorite, Anemone from Ronan Day-Lewis.
Who?
And then also Ephus here from Carson Lund.
Yeah.
Those are my 5 films for best directorial debut. So this is interesting when trying to determine a winner for this category, because do I just select the best movie? That's one perspective of it. Do I look at something like Eva Victor for Sorry Baby, who not only directed it, but wrote it and starred in it and gave one of the best performances. It's one of the
basically
best
did the
screenplays
most
of year.
work for it.
Exactly. That's another perspective. The other one I have here is I was so blown away by Kristen Stewart's vision for The Chronology of Water. I think just from a directorial effort in terms of the precision of that film, the editing of it, and again, how disorienting it feels on the surface, but yet it's so finely tuned underneath that I think it's honestly one of the best directorial achievements of the year, period, let alone of this category. So that's another perspective. So it's really tough for me to figure out how I want to determine a winner. But if we are just going based off of what I think the best movie is of this crop, and I love all 5 of these, obviously, but if that's the determining factor, my winner here is Sorry Baby from
That's fair.
Eva Victor.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But I certainly considered it from all those angles for sure.
Sure. Yeah. A lot of ways to look at that. Definitely.
Yeah. So later on, we're going to be doing best overlooked movie, but we don't have a category for best overlooked performance. And I love this category because there are so many others. And I guess in a sense, we've already talked about this with some of the categories you guys brought up. We just named it differently. Sure. But for best overlooked performance for me, and I guess because we're an individual awards here, I felt the need to expand this slightly beyond beyond 5. I have 7 here. I could narrow it down to 5 if need be, but the performances I have here are Florence Pugh in Thunderbolts.
That's a great performance.
Is maybe the best performance in any MCU film. Delroy Lindo in Sinners. Dylan O'Brien in the film Twinless.
Knew that was coming.
Another striking,
great performance. So good.
Frank Delane in Urchin is stunning. What an incredible performance there.
Yeah.
Shi Yan Ma in Left-Handed Girl. Very reminiscent of Bria Venete in The Florida Project. Loved her in that film. Kyle Martin in The Plague. I know Brendan and I go back and forth on this, but I think it's one of the best villain performances of the last 10 years. I would also put it into that category Dave had earlier as far as child performances of the year.
Yeah, it's okay.
Deeply love that performance. Best villain performance of the last 10 years. The last one I have here is Kirsten Dunst in Roofman.
Yeah. She is really, so good in that movie. Oh my goodness.
Really good in that movie. So those are my nominees for best overlooked performance. As far as the winner goes, this was very difficult. I almost went with Kyle Martin just to spite Brendan.
This is how I know you're a better person than I am, because I 100% would have done that.
I thought about it.
Kind of surprised you didn't do that, Dave. We'll have a few other opportunities to spite each other in this episode.
Yeah. And the winner I ended up going with here is Dylan O'Brien in Twinless. Sure. And I think part of it is also the surprise factor. I could have nominated him here for surprise performance, but I have seen him do good work before. So it's not surprises in an overwhelming sense, but I think he gets to a level before that we just haven't seen. There are 2 moments in the film in particular that I think qualify as some of the most emotionally affecting scenes of the year. And one of them is wordless. He doesn't say anything. It's all in his eyes and in his mannerisms, and it's really stunning. So I think the surprise factor of it plays into it, but also overlooked in the sense that he's not in the conversation at all for year-end acting awards. But I think it's very much in that conversation. And I deeply love that performance a lot. I love all of those nominees, but I think he is the one that probably gets the winner for me. I will say there is one other performance I didn't name here, and that's because she's going to come up later. So maybe I'll tie it back to this once we get to that.
Okay.
All right. The next category I have here is Holy Shit, the Editing. So we don't have an award for editing, and I don't always bring it up, but this year, 2025, I thought stood out for me as far as the best editing of the year goes. So the 5 nominees I have here are the aforementioned The Chronology of Water. That whole film, from a storytelling perspective, hinges on the preciseness of the editing, and it is, again, stunning. Stunning work. Love the editing in that film. Park Chan-wook, No Other Choice. That one is much more expected for a category like this.
Fair.
And the editing and transition work, as we all know and love from Park Chan-wook, it is astounding in that film.
Yeah.
The next nominee for me is the documentary The Perfect Neighbor. To take all of that police cam footage and security footage and to tell a story out of it, I don't even know how you pull that off. Like that's nothing short of a miracle. And it's incredible. Really, really good documentary, and again, hinges on the editing there. The next nominee for me is the Chinese film Caught by the Tides. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see this, but
blind spot for me.
It basically chronologizes from like the early 2000s all the way till now. And again, it jumps in time. It's very poetic in a lot of ways. It's not traditional in terms of its storytelling and narrative, and it's wholly reliant on editing from archival footage or previous films to essentially tell kind of a romantic-ish story. And
he made a movie out of his other movies. It's incredible.
It's wild. Exactly. And the editing is the reason it ultimately works, and the performances. And then the last nominee I have here is Avatar: Fire and Ash. So I have seen this film twice, and the reason I have it here is because the movie is 3.5 goddamn hours, and it to me it just flies by. It just goes by. Especially the second time I watched it, it felt like I started watching it, and then by the time I had looked down at my watch at all, 2.5 hours had gone by, and it felt like it was 15 minutes. Yeah. And I'm like, how did 2.5? I sat here for 2.5 hours already.
Yeah, baby.
Like I just sat down. It's unbelievable how that film just goes and goes and goes. So I think the editing is quite impressive in that regard. Yeah. So those are my nominees for editing. My winner here, I do think it probably comes down to The Perfect Neighbor and The Chronology of Water for me. But I think I would go with The Chronology of Water. Again, it's hard to express unless you've seen the film, but that's another one of those films that it flashes in time, but when it does so, there's a very distinct purpose as to why. And despite it having this Malick-esque meandering observational feel on the surface, all of that is a facade. That's just to create this feeling of disorientation, because that's what the character is going through. But really underneath, when you do the math, everything is done with precision. It is surgical in that regard, and it is, again, really, really impressive. Yeah. All right. I have two more. I'll get through these really quickly. The next one I have is I just called this "Why Was 2025 Trying to Kill Me?" Because there were so many movies about parenthood and grief, especially as it relates to children, and I don't know why we got so many of these, but you include the likes of Hamnet, of course, The Chronology of Water, The Testament of Anne Lee, Surratt, Die My Love, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, The Voice of Henry Job, Train Dreams, 28 Years Later, which we've already mentioned. There were so many movies about parenthood and death and grief. A lot. Yeah. Like what was in the water this year? Like, it's just unbelievable. So
they knew you were listening and watching. Yeah. They were targeting you specifically, JD.
Yeah, it was like I knew something was up when I watched Surratt, because at that point I had already seen Hamnet. I had seen If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, maybe Die My Love as well.
By that point, what's going on here?
What is happening here? Like, why are movies trying to kill me? So I just wanted to point that out. That was my category.
A lot of that this year.
Yeah.
And then the last one, and I'll do my best to get through this. I don't know if I will, but I had this written on my list weeks ago. So this is just a tragic irony more than anything else. But the last category I here have is what I called the Good Boy Award.
Oh man. Okay. JD, good luck.
So obviously this was meant to be a category to recognize Indy, and I loved Indy, and I'm glad that he's gotten even some recent recognition, even though people have pushed back against it, and understandably so.
It's a good performance.
It's a good performance. I love it. I had to throw in an extra nominee here, of course, to my own Dakota, who we had to put down over the weekend. Yeah. And it was one of the worst things I've ever had to do. Yeah. And so, and just the incredible, ironic, tragic turn. I thought about this moment that we're having right now while we were at the vet. It came up. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but here we are. And
it's like you have no choice but to talk about it.
Exactly. So I'm going to throw Dakota in there as well.
And as someone who has met Dakota, I've met Dakota a few times actually. Back when we lived in Kentucky together, JD, he absolutely was a good boy.
He was the best boy. I will miss him deeply. Okay. With that said, let's go ahead and transition to our official awards. And the first one we have is Best Movie Discovery. So with this category, this could be any craftsman, any performer, director, someone we were not familiar with prior to 2025, something we discovered. We look forward to seeing whatever they have next in the future. So that is Best Movie Discovery. Dave, what are your 5 nominees for this category?
All right. My 5 nominees are Emily Blichfeldt, who is the director of a movie I love, The Ugly Stepsister.
Oh.
Ava Victor, Sorry Baby, director, writer, star. Miles Caton from Sinners. Chase Infinity from One Battle After Another. And Tonatiuh from Kiss of the Spider Woman, a movie that shocked me with how much I enjoyed it. And it was mainly because of their performance. Really, really excellent. The winner, though, it's Chase Infinity. I mean, like, what are we doing here? Like, I watched that movie, and out of the many things I thought about when I watched it was like, imagine being Chase Infinity coming into this movie. It's a PTA movie. It's going to be great. And you also know a lot of eyes are going to be on you. And in most of your scenes, you are going toe to toe with one of the biggest movie stars in history. Yeah. You're going toe to toe with Leo. And there is not a single frame of that movie where she appears out of her depth. It is truly like a sight to see.
It's not even just toe to toe with Leo. It's toe to toe with another one of the greatest actors of the past 20 years, and Sean Penn.
Sean Penn too. Yeah, absolutely. I just think she's absolutely wonderful in this movie. And PTA recently was quoted because he was kind of talking about he's been writing this for like 10 years. He says, like, I feel like I had to wait for Chase. I had to wait for her. This all timed out exactly right, because it is one of those roles that it is one of those linchpin roles, because she is the focus of everything that happens in that movie after the kind of introductory chapter. Everything is about her. So you have to have a great young actress in that role. And thank God they found Chase Infinity, because wow, she is absolutely my movie discovery of the year. I cannot wait to see what else she does. I had seen her in bits and pieces in smaller things earlier, but this was the first thing that was really focused on her in any way. And now I'm just like, okay, put her in whatever she wants to do, because I will be there watching.
Yeah. She just has the aura of a movie star. She really does.
Yeah.
I'll get this out of the way by first saying, like, I wanted to find room for her in Best Actress when we get to that point, and I just didn't quite. That was a very stacked category already. So sadly, I had 5 that I just liked a little bit more, but that's also why I'm including Chase Infinity as a movie discovery as well. She's a nominee for me for all those reasons, Dave. And I also have Miles Caton as well for Sinners, actor and singer for that movie. A few others I have here. I have Rob Mazurek, the composer, for Mastermind, which is. Might talk about a little bit later.
Okay, Mr. Jazz, we get it.
I'll talk a little bit later as to why that pick resonates with me. But I do think it's interesting how he has never composed a movie before, and this is his first time, so it's amazing. Michael Strassner, the writer and actor for The Baltimoreans, a really compelling presence in that movie. My winner for this one is writer and director Carson Lund for Ephus.
Nice.
Namesake of Dave's shirt as well.
I'm going to agree with this one. This is
But I usually judge this category and I pick a winner based on, out of all these individuals, who am I going to get most excited for when they return for future work?
Sure.
And given a movie like Ephus and how it just resonates with me as far as the vibe of that movie, Carson Lund seems like he's shaping up to be one of those filmmakers that is kind of one of my guys. And when I discover someone that could potentially be one of my new guys working in Hollywood as far as a director is concerned, that gets me really excited. And what he did with Ephus is a great reason why he is my movie discovery, because I'm really interested to see what he does next.
Yeah, that's a really great pick. I love that film, and I'm deeply excited to see what he has up his sleeve next as well. As for my 5 nominees, I will echo a lot of what you guys have said already. I have Chase Infinity for One Battle After Another. I think Dave articulated perfectly why she is astounding in that film. Jacoby Chu, which came up earlier, and Hamnet. I was blown away by that performance. I think one of the best child performances of the last decade or so. Miles Catton from Sinners, which was noted earlier as well. And then the last two I have here, I have Eva Victor for Sorry Baby, writer, director, actress, and Mary Bronstein, the filmmaker for If I Had Legs, I'd
Great
Kick You.
pick.
Those are my 5 nominees. My winner here, though, is Eva Victor. Again, going back to directorial debut, and again, for similar reasons, not just directing that film, but the writing of that film as a screenplay. It's one of the best screenplays of the year. And her performance, which doesn't quite crack the 5 for me as far as actress goes, but again, very much in consideration in the conversation. And that alone is still impressive. And I think she renders some of the best scenes of the year, which we talked about last week. I think that courtroom monologue is deeply poignant.
It's terrific.
And cathartic.
It's terrific.
And then that last scene, that monologue that she gives is incredible. It's like the way she's able to channel the trauma that she's experienced, but also express hope in this incredible way. I was really blown away.
Yeah.
So that film and just the way it navigates its challenges and conflicts, I think is incredibly mature. It's sometimes funny, and like tonally just trying to thread that needle, given the material, that's always going to be tough, but I think she nailed it. And it's an impressive debut, 100%. So she is my winner here for movie discovery.
Makes a lot of sense to give her this award for movie discovery. I do agree, because she's a discovery in more ways than one. And like if she's acting in another movie that she didn't write or direct, I'd be excited for that. If she ends up writing or directing a new movie that she's not even in or doesn't cast herself in, I'd also be excited for that. So she proves herself in multiple ways through multiple avenues of filmmaking, and that's a very good skill.
Yeah, that's a great point, because she could simply turn up on any film set in any one of those roles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which certainly speaks to her skill sets for sure. All right, that is movie discovery. Let's move on to best surprise actor or actress in 2025. Dave, what are your nominees for this category?
All right. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention is like people should know, like, this is really hard. This is really difficult to do, especially when I watched this year, I watched close to 250 2025 releases. So to narrow this down into 5 is so hard. So what I did this year is I took my cue from other award shows and I made like a short list and a long list, and I slowly narrowed it down. So if there's a performance that you are thinking of, it was probably on one of those lists, and it just slowly gets cut down. So it's really hard, and I shouldn't, but I always kind of feel bad. I'm like, but I forget about this person, and I feel like the people who are 6, 7, and 8 could easily go into 5. So it's really difficult. So we do really think a lot about this. Like we spend probably too much time really thinking about it. The surprise actor and actress is always an interesting category for me, because I try to take out people I had like never seen before, right? Because that's movie discovery. So I try to think of people who surprised me either because they were better than I thought they were going to be, or they did something really different that I hadn't seen them do before. So the first one is Dylan O'Brien, an actor I've enjoyed in other things, but I've never seen him really tested like this as an actor. And if you've seen the movie, you know the scene I'm talking about. There is one particular scene in this movie that is one of the best scenes of the entire year. I mean, we talked about Bridget Everett earlier. His moment on that bed is up there with the best performance of the year. And
it's terrific. It's terrific.
Completely shocked me, because I was like, Dylan O'Brien, he's cute. He can do action, whatever.
He can run so many mazes. He can do all that.
That's right. Maze Runner, a movie I dig, actually. Like
that's actually not a bad movie. It's well made.
It's really not. It's definitely meant for a younger audience than 40 and 50-year-olds, but it's fun.
But honestly, if you're going to do one of those young adult Divergent like adventure movies, at least Wes Ball has a vision for that.
He does. Yes, absolutely. And that got him a chance to work with a bunch of monkeys. Good for him.
Yeah.
So Dylan O'Brien, Twinless is my first nominee. The second is Gwyneth Paltrow, an actor I've been torn on for basically her entire career. When she first kind of started out, I was like, oh, this could be the next like really great, like the next superstar. Like we are looking at something great. And then she she veered into Goop and all this other nonsense and, played all these games of like, I didn't remember I was in that movie. And I was just like, God, I'm so annoyed. But her and Marty Supreme, really good performance. And you need someone movie star caliber to go up against Chalamet in that role because he is such a domineering force in general, but especially in that movie, that you need someone who can stand toe to toe with him and not have to have a bunch of dialogue to prove they're important. But she manages to do that, not silently, but subtly. Third is Conan O'Brien. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. A really excellent, purely dramatic performance from Conan O'Brien.
Yeah,
absolutely shocked me.
I saw that coming.
Like when's the part where he like drinks milk and spits it all over? Like, Conan, what's happening? But he's genuinely quite good. And as someone
weird seeing him pissed off.
Yes, and as someone who used to be a therapist, really handles that stuff really well in this movie.
It's good to hear.
He was really good. A little out of left field, Jai Courtney in Dangerous Animals this year.
Man, this is a blind spot. It was on my list for a long time.
So good. Yeah. I wrote an article for another site called Loud and Clear, and I did a top 10 underseen, and this was on there.
Okay.
Along with the great Ephus, was also on there. But Jai Courtney playing a serial killer who uses sharks as his killing weapon. Incredible. And he is having a blast in this movie. You can just tell, because like there was a time when we thought Jai Courtney was going to be this big crossover star from Australia, and it just never really happened, and so this is him kind of with a little bit of a grimy comeback, and I really, really appreciated this movie. A really good one. And the last one, I don't know, I might make some enemies with this because I know people love Dakota Johnson in everything. I am not those people. I think she is fine in most things. Like she is a very watchable actor, but I've never been astounded by her, except in Splitsville this year.
Interesting.
Really, really good performance. Splitsville is a movie, shockingly, I'm split on. It's there is maybe one character in that movie who seems like a real human being who has lived in the world, and that is Dakota Johnson's character. She is really excellent and handles the emotion necessary for the comedy, for the drama, everything. She really holds that movie together for me. And I was absolutely stunned because like if you had told me, in this movie, the person you're going to love most is Dakota Johnson, I'd be like, is she though? But yet she really was really, really great performance. But the winner, JD, I'm sure this will make you happy. It's Dylan O'Brien. It is a top 10 performance of the year for me. Yeah. Also a really well-written movie and, has great pairings in that movie. There are other good performances in the movie, but he really stands out without it being an actorly performance, without it being
so sincere.
But absolutely genuine and sincere. And even though he's not a perfect man, you understand why he does the things that he does. Even when he makes mistakes, you're like, oh, but I get it though. I get why you would react in that way. Maybe it's not exactly what I would want or what I would do, but I get it. And it's just a performance that truly draws you in. I mean, you would talk about cinema as the empathy machine. Dylan O'Brien's performance in Twinless is a really, really good example of that. So that's my winner for Best Surprise.
Yeah, Dylan O'Brien is terrific in Twinless, and that's why he's also a nominee for me as well. I also have Kevin O'Leary for Marty Supreme. I have Will Arnett in Is This Thing On? I have Bad Bunny for 2 movies, Caught Stealing and Happy Gilmore 2, the latter of which don't care for that movie very much, but he is far and away the best thing in it and is truly quite funny.
The bar is in hell. Yes, he is the best thing in that movie.
But I actually think he is genuinely terrific in that movie. It's good. My last one I'll say in just a moment is actually my winner, but he wasn't my winner for a while. For the longest time, I had Dylan O'Brien as my winner. And that's because I think he does give the best performance of these 5 that I have nominated for Best Surprise Actor or Actress. But my winner primarily because it is the biggest WTF moment of any performance. It is Tom Hanks in Freaky Tales.
Yeah, I love it. Yes. Yes.
Wow,
the Bay Area loves you for this pick. Well done.
Well, I actually have a soft spot for this movie, primarily because a lot of the artfulness of the Bay Area is something I very much respond to, especially musically. The fact that movie features needle drops of the likes of Tower of Power, one of my all-time favorite bands. So I love the artfulness, even the underground hip-hop scene and the punk scene as represented in that movie.
Yeah.
And yet, for some reason, this random cameo from Tom Hanks is just quite amazing.
Yeah,
and
really good.
And he doesn't, he oversells the fact that he's making a weird cameo in this movie, but he doesn't oversell it in a way that it becomes too distracting. In true Tom Hanks fashion, he knows how to straddle that line very well. So because I just simply didn't see it coming, it was a surprise for me. So perhaps
very much a surprise.
it is the namesake for this category in many ways.
And also Tom Hanks, born in Concord, California.
Yeah,
he's a Bay Area guy.
Yeah,
we loved him.
Yeah, so it's very meta in that regard. It knows it. Like I said, Dylan O'Brien, arguably the best performance of this bunch for sure. But I was most surprised by what Tom Hanks was bringing.
I love that pick.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's good stuff. All right, my nominees for Best Surprise Actor or Actress, I have Tim Key in The Ballad of Wallace Island. If there was a category for the most lovable character of the year, it might be Charles in that film.
Sure.
And his performance, I never saw that coming. That was unbelievable. That's a very good nomination for me here. I also have Will Arnett, Is This Thing On? Really, really great performance there. Aiden Delbus in Begonia, the quiet MVP of that movie for me.
Agreed.
I love how tender and unassuming that performance is, that character is, and that one stood out to me. The next nominee I have here is Chris Evans in Materialist. And we didn't really mention this last week. I ended up writing it in on the website, but I don't think Brennan and I mentioned it. But like a good honorable mention for me as far as scenes of the year goes is that wedding sequence that takes place near the end. And I think he's incredible in that moment and tapping into the heartbreak of that character. And it's easily the best thing he's done in 15 years. He's really, really good in that movie. My winner here, and this is maybe not surprising in the sense that we've seen this actor do a lot of great work in the past, but it's surprising in the sense that I haven't seen him do anything of note in a while. I especially haven't seen him do anything quite to the caliber of the style that he was involved with in this film. And I was blown away by how incessantly hilarious he is. And that's Liam Neeson for The Naked Gun.
That's a great call. That's a great call.
Loved him in that movie. And he is my winner. He is my winner for Best Surprise Actor or Actress. I think that movie is really good. And I think part of why it's great is not just the writing and the joke telling, but the way he delivers those jokes. It just kills me. I specifically think about that scene at the end of the film when he's talking about getting revenge and not doing revenge because, or you shouldn't take revenge because it's the best feeling you'll ever have. So don't do it. like the way he says that is just unbelievable to me.
Well, it's so in keeping with what those movies have always been. I mean, Leslie Nielsen back in the day was kind of a serious actor in some ways. So by bringing someone in that just knows how to sell that deadpan delivery because they are a very serious actor and more successful at that is why it works. And it's also hilarious that even his name is kind of similar to Leslie Nielsen, Liam Neeson, Leslie Nielsen. That couldn't have been an accident. I often say to myself and quote to myself that one line drop he has when he's trying to introduce Pamela Anderson's character by giving her a fake name. This is Cheer Roosevelt, Fat Bozo Chowing Spaghetti.
Obviously.
Really good. The way she was put together correctly, head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes.
It's like everything I said about that movie to people was like, if you like the original, you're gonna like this. Like, they really mastered the language, especially.
Yes, it was unbelievable, and Liam Neeson just, I didn't know what to expect going into that movie, honestly. I mean, the trailers I think were charming enough, but I was pretty blown away by how great he was in carrying the legacy of that franchise. So yeah, that is my winner for best surprise actor or actress. All right, let's move on to best surprise movie. Dave, what do you have here?
All right, so best surprise movie. So the first one I'm going to talk about, I can almost guarantee that you guys and probably maybe one person listening has heard of this movie. It is a documentary called I'm Not Everything I Want to Be. Mm-hmm. So it's a documentary about the life and career of a Czech photographer. I am not going to try to pronounce her name because I will absolutely butcher it. There's a lot of consonants involved and marks over letters that I just do not feel qualified to even attempt. But it's put together from all of her work. Weirdly similar to something like The Perfect Neighbor, where it's kind of edited together and cobbled together. And the thing I was most struck by actually in this movie was the sound design of this documentary. Really, really stunning. Like the greatest sound work I've seen in a documentary in my life of watching movies. Really incredible. Because she took so many pictures that you could almost create a full-length animated film with her pictures. And that's kind of what they did in this movie. But then the sound that they create to set you in the scenes that she is taking pictures of, really, really beautiful stuff. So especially if you're a documentary person, really, really recommend I'm Not Everything I Want to Be.
Haven't seen it, but I've heard great things.
Yeah, really good. EFIS, of course, is on the list. That movie was a complete shock to me. Knew nothing about it before I saw it, other than I know what an EFIS pitch is because I am a baseball nerd. Yeah, sorry to do that walking in. So that's all I knew going in. So that was definitely a surprise.
Sure.
Let's see. Kill the Jockey. Another really excellent film that was very underseen this year. It's also in Spanish, it's called El Jockey. So it's just called The Jockey in Spanish, but here we call it Kill the Jockey. I don't know why, but it's like a queer surrealist dream. I'm kind of in love with this movie, and we'll talk later about it more, I think, because there's at least one performance that I think I'm going to bring up again. Definitely a not for everybody movie. I could totally see someone making this 20 minutes in and being like, God damn it, Dave. Like, why did you recommend this movie to me? How dare you? And I totally get it. Yeah. Wake Up Dead Man is on the list as well, because when it comes to Knives Out movies, I think they're okay.
I'm with you.
They're enjoyable. Like, I like them, and I never have a desire to go back to them. And one reason for that is I feel like until this movie, I feel like Ryan Johnson's politics are kind of like baby's first leftist take. I mean, it's just kind of like, hey, the internet's bad, guys. There's a lot of people saying bad stuff. Did you know? It's just very on the surface. And that is a smart move from him because, you're covering a lot of ground and you want a lot of people to watch your movie and get the messages that you're interested in pushing across. This movie is much more subtle, and this movie has a lot more to say. And it's not quite so black and white as the politics of 1 and 2. This one, it really plays in the gray. And I was stunned by this. I was shocked by how much I like this movie, so much that I have already watched this movie twice. I've already watched this movie more than I've watched 1 and 2. So it's already more rewatchable to me, and it's not even a year old.
Yeah.
And the last one is Resurrection by Gann's epic film. Oh my God. It's a movie that has so much in it. I almost don't feel qualified to talk about it. Like, there's so much going on. It's a movie I desperately want to rewatch, and God, I wish I could see this on the biggest screen possible.
Sure.
But really, really shockingly good. Like, didn't know anything about that director walking in, didn't really know anything about the movie, just got offered very luckily to see a screener of this movie. And I was actually on vacation when I got the screener and had to tell my wife, I have to really watch this movie. I know we're on vacation.
It's like nearly 3 hours long, too.
Yeah. And she's like, okay, I guess. Have a good time. We'll go do something else. So yeah, Resurrection. The winner though is Ephus. I mean, Ephus is great. Especially if you're like if you're an old guy who likes baseball, whose body is breaking down, boy, do I have the movie for you. This is the one. Like I just kind of adore this movie. I mean, as Brendan's mentioned a couple times, I bought the t-shirt, I bought the movie. I am fully in the bag for this movie. So Ephus, definitely the biggest and best surprise movie for me this year.
It's a terrific movie. Not quite a surprise movie for me, but among your nominees there, Dave, I also have Wake Up Dead Man for the reasons that you very eloquently talked about. It is my favorite of the Knives Out movies. In fact, I feel like I'm alone in saying that my ranking of them is actually like release order backwards. Like I think I slightly like Glass Onion more than the first because it's actually the one that doesn't take itself too seriously. I think it's just a great comedy. And I think that's why it works. But Wake Up Dead Man, to your point, is the one that really added a level of maturity in Rian Johnson's depiction of these sociopolitical themes in a way that I was just very surprised by. So that's a very, very good surprise movie for me. The rest of these are movies that I guess I have them as surprise movies because they were much better than I actually thought they were going to be. Nice. A movie like Freakier Friday, for instance, was actually quite fun. Highest to Lowest, Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest, and some of the elements of how it was kind of looking back and deconstructing his own career as a filmmaker. I didn't expect that. There's also the Marvel movie Thunderbolts, which for the first time in a long time felt like a movie as opposed to Marvel content. Yes. Which was really exciting to see. And the more I sit with that one, the more I actually think it might be top tier MCU because it's just great to see a movie that feels like a movie. Yeah. So perhaps the timing of that has more to say about that than anything else.
Did they change the name of that movie? Can you even call it Thunderbolts anymore?
I still call it Thunderbolts asterisk. So
that's what I call it too. Yeah,
the brand new Avengers or whatever the hell. Like
the Avengers with the Z. We got to make that known too. My winner though is a movie we already talked about quite a bit in the last category, and that's The Naked Gun. It's surprising in a way because comedies, just in general, I think, need some help in the movie business as far as
agreed.
Not that they're bad, but they need to be seen more, and we need to see more attempts at allowing the comedy to also be a theatrical experience as opposed to.
I was going to say that's what Netflix is for. It's fine.
But like, don't you kind of miss even when let's say you look at romantic comedies in general back in the 2000s, as many of them were not that great. A lot of them still look like they were trying to fish for a best cinematography Oscar. Like they actually look like movies still. Like I was randomly rewatching How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days the other day. It's like, wow, this actually looks like a movie.
It's a good looking movie. It's not a good movie, but it's
a good looking movie. Yeah. And I miss when, comedies kind of had that energy, and The Naked Gun took me back to that kind of aesthetic feel, that the fact that comedies can actually be big entertainments, very reminiscent of how comedies used to be. And that's what surprised me the most about it. And that's why I found it so charming, because I think it weirdly also knows that. And it's playing with that idea that comedies can actually be something we celebrate as a communal experience and not just a dumping ground, because it's a less expensively made movie. So I think for those reasons, it's a great surprise movie for me.
Thank God for Happy Gilmore too, right?
Oh, right, absolutely.
Right.
That's fine. Just going straight to streaming. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And probably worth noting that The Naked Gun made $102 million on a $40 million budget. So
people like comedies. They like to laugh.
People went to see it. That's a huge success story from 2025. So yes, I do love that. The Naked Gun is a nominee for me here as well for all those reasons. I also have Thunderbolts as a nominee for me here. Predator Badlands, I think, is incredibly badass. That film rules, and I did not expect it to be as great as it is. I have Superman on here as a nominee for me. I'm generally not into DC as much, and I was especially reserved on James Gunn in the DC world up until that film, but really liked it a lot. Thought it was really good. So that was easily one of my favorite surprises of the summer. I did not expect to go in and like that film the way that I did. And then the last nominee for me here, I am with you, Brendan. I have Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest.
Nice.
Not that I doubted Spike Lee, although I've been, hit or miss on him a little bit over the last 15 years. But also, you're remaking Kurosawa.
A masterpiece.
A masterpiece. A film that's highly regarded.
Yeah.
What is that going to look like? And essentially what he does is make his Irishman the way Scorsese what Scorsese did with The Irishman. That's essentially what he's doing here. The first half of that film is purposefully, at least I would argue so. I think it's purposefully messy as he starts to deconstruct his career. And then in the back half really starts to wrestle with his legacy in this fascinating way, as Brennan noted earlier. So I really like that film a lot. I still think it's one of the better films of the year. And again,
it's underrated.
Not sure
I really
would
think
have
it is.
expected.
I mean, it has Jeffrey Wright and Denzel Washington. How is this going to be great?
And it's a thrilling movie. That train scene is absolutely thrilling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I hate to break it to you, Dave, but a lot of mid movies have great casts and actors that can't.
Do they have Denzel Washington and Jeffrey Wright? I don't think so.
That is a fair point.
Yeah, look, not every film can make a mayhem joke and get away with it, or a State Farm joke and get away with it.
I think they made like 2 or 3 of them too. It just kept going. I was
the
you know
scene
what?
in the car, he shouts out both of them in the same moment.
Yeah. God bless him. God,
just
give me like 100 Jeffrey Wright, Denzel Washington buddy comedies. I will watch.
I'm there.
All
100%.
of them.
Yeah, can we do can we like craft our own new Lethal Weapon franchise with them or something like that? I'd see that.
Fine, we'll watch.
Yeah, would absolutely watch. I love Spike, love Highest to Lowest. That's my last nominee here. My winner for this though is the Thunderbolts, especially when you're talking about the surprise factor, because that's a film that was exactly what the MCU needed, I think, when it came out. But for the longest time, and I am sure you guys would agree at least somewhat with this, I thought that film would be terrible. I thought it would be fleeting. I didn't think it was going to impact the larger MCU at all.
Just seems so futile.
Low expectations is not low enough. Like I was like,
exactly.
Like I legitimately thought it was going to be bottom tier MCU stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I did not go in with high expectations at all. I don't know if it would be bottom tier, but it was probably more in that direction than where it landed for me.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of the characters. I thought maybe if anything, this could be like a fleeting romp, just could be like a fun little exercise.
Disposable.
Disposable. Absolutely. But then you see the film, and at least for me, I do think this is one of their very best. I think it's top tier Marvel. That's one of my top 10 MCU films to date.
Yeah,
same here.
And it introduces a major character like the Void, and it has some of the most emotional stakes we've ever seen in a Marvel movie. And the way it subverts the Marvel formula in that final act, I think, is incredible. It's really, really great. And I think part of why I was drawn to it is because it enacts a villain that is reminiscent of what drew me to something like Civil War, in the sense that it's all about the emotional fortitude those characters are grappling with. That's essentially the antagonist of the story. And in this case, it was loneliness and trauma. And the way the film taps into that, I think, is really great. You get one of Marvel's best scores underneath that as well. The cast, I noted Florence Pugh earlier. I think she's phenomenal in this film. So yeah, I think there's a lot to love about Thunderbolts, and I was blown away how it differed from how I felt about it walking into that movie.
Even just the look of the movie. Like I think back to that limo chase in the desert and the way certain explosions happen, especially when Bucky shows up. My first thought was, this kind of reminds me, visually speaking, of Marvel Phase 1 when they actually made movies. Yeah. And I haven't felt that in a long time.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's very close to Phase 1 or maybe early Phase 2 in some ways.
Yeah.
And Louis Pullman could have been on my list for very good year too. He had 2 very good performances this year.
That's a great point. Yeah. Testament of Van Lee as well.
With that. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that is best surprise movie. let's move on to best overlooked movie. Dave, what do you got?
Okay, so best overlooked movie. I have The Phoenician Scheme. I feel like overlooked in sense of like there's a lot of like it's mid Anderson, and I think it's much better than that. Hedda, a movie that was just buried by Amazon MGM, and I think it's really, really excellent and has one of the best performances of the year from Tessa Thompson. Like you guys talked about it a lot, so I won't belabor the point, but a really challenging, difficult role, and she nails it. So
I agree.
Very, very good.
Lurker, which is kind of a look at what we will do to get proximity to fame. It's a movie that came out this year that I think is really excellent, and I hope a lot more people see it when it comes out on streaming. Let's see. I've also got Familiar Touch, which is an excellent movie that its central character is a woman who is losing her memory. And I mean, one of the best performances of the year does not give it enough credit. It's really excellent, and it's one of those movies I beg people to see. Like, if you have an opportunity to see this, please go see Familiar Touch. And lastly, The Mastermind, which we talked about briefly earlier with Josh O'Connor in one of his 27 roles that he was in this year. And this is a movie that gets overlooked because it just doesn't play anywhere. I felt very lucky that a local theater, the Kentucky Theater, which JD knows very well, was playing The Mastermind for 2 days. And I got to go see it on a big screen, and I was so happy. I think I'm a little lower on Reichardt than the two of you are, because you guys love her. I have ups and downs with her as a filmmaker, but this is top tier stuff. I really enjoyed this movie. Like and I was worried because, there were even cinephiles who were like, this movie's really slow, guys. really slow. And when you go into a Reichardt movie, knowing you're going into a Reichardt movie, and you still say it's slow, like, either it is glacial or I don't trust you. So now there's a bunch more people on Twitter I don't trust, because this movie rocks. Like, this movie,
it's so entertaining.
I think it's I think in my Letterboxd review, the first thing I put in there is like, surprisingly a very goofy movie.
It's
like,
fun,
fun and silly. It has a lot to say too, which you guys went over. I like that you brought up kind of like the changing era of civil rights when this was happening, and how he was just like completely unaware. And Josh O'Connor has this ability to play a deeply unlikable character, but a deeply watchable unlikable character. That is not easy to do. Similar to Tessa Thompson and Hedda. I think you could draw some parallels between them. So those are my nominees. The winner is The Mastermind. I got to give it to Kelly Reichardt. Like, you guys have talked a lot about her, about how she doesn't make many movies because she's also a teacher, and she has to like pay bills because as a giant unit, Hollywood hates women, and especially hates women behind the camera. So God forbid you give Kelly Reichardt $70 million to make her next movie. I want to see what she does with a real budget. Because her movies, they look incredible, and they're made for like $10 million. Like, give her whatever she wants. Even if she like pockets half of it, I'm fine with that. Just let that woman live and let her.
It's like, okay, I'll take the 70 million. I don't need the 70 million to make this movie.
I only need 60. So thanks for the 60.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So The Mastermind, definitely my best overlooked movie of the year. But there's a lot. And this is the thing when we talk about, it's a bad year for movies. Watch more movies. This is the great thing about being a reviewer and getting access to movies I never would have even considered. I didn't know anything about Lurker. I didn't know about Familiar Touch. I probably never would have seen them if I hadn't been given the opportunity to review them. And now I feel like it's my job to pressure everyone in my life to watch these movies because they're so good. I think if you only watch the quote unquote awards worthy movies and you say it's a bad year, like, okay, maybe
it's a bad awards year.
And that's different than being a bad year. There are no bad years for movies.
I agree.
Every year is a good year. Sometimes you just have to dig a little deeper.
And sometimes, God forbid, there are just maybe less good things, but that doesn't mean that there's no good things. To say it's a bad year for movies implies that just not enough good things came out, and that is a fallacy. That's just absolutely a false statement. And I think evidence of that even further is when we get to my 5 nominees for Best Overlooked Movie. all my 5 are different than Dave's. Like
What a
that's
transition.
that's great. That's great. And I love that. My 5 include The Ballad of Wallace Island, which we talked about a little bit already. The Baltimoreans, which I wish more people got a chance to see, especially over the holidays. It's very much a Christmas movie. Mickey 17, we talked about that a little bit already. It's been a great year for foreign cinema, as we're going to talk about.
Jeez.
And one that is sadly
that category. Good
Lord. What a category. Oh my goodness. There's always one like category that seems to like run with everything each year. And this year, like some years it's animation, some years it's maybe a particular acting category. This year it's foreign cinema. I feel like this was the year of foreign language cinema. But one that I feel like we sort of started losing touch with is On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, which is truly a magnificent movie. I also have on my nominees. Did people forget that David Cronenberg made a movie this year? The Shrouds.
Really good. That was like number 6 for me. It was right there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's maybe not for everybody. Cronenberg certainly as of late is not for everybody.
Okay, not for everybody.
Any Cronenberg movie, none of them are for everybody.
Well, I mean, you look back at, let's say, his 80s filmography, like they're certainly more accessible than some of his later stuff.
Yes,
like his movies are more patient nowadays.
Yes.
And that is not going to be for everybody. But as far as my winner of these 5, I don't think this is necessarily the best of these 5 movies, but I'm trying to see this as which one am I most likely to try to recommend to everybody, because we want to try and showcase good movies to as many people as we can. And I really do think there's a universal likability to something like The Baltimoreans. I really think it's one of those movies where I think everyone's going to find some type of charming relatability to it, some type of connection with it. It's just a really easy movie for me to recommend, and that's why it's my winner. Like I said, I don't know if it's necessarily the best of these 5. It's a rather simple movie, but a very sincere movie. And I love that it's a movie that, even despite some of its conventions in its rom-com trappings, if you will, it's also willing to not let characters off the hook and reckon with some of these things that they deal with. So it's a very smart movie in that regard. And also, just selfishly, I'm loving this new era of Christmas-themed movies that feel like they came from the 70s, starting with The Holdovers. This is a very different movie, but I think is kind of going for like a similar categorization in a way. And I think there's just something very inherently likable about this one for those reasons. So that's why it's my pick here.
I really need to watch that movie, apparently.
Yeah, it's fun.
If there's anyone I could see not liking it, it's you.
See, I'm trying to be nice, JD, and look how I'm treated. Look at this.
I have to take the opportunity to jab when I can.
Yeah, I know. Just gonna come back to bite you now, Brendan, because the next few categories, Dave's coming after you.
I opened the wound.
I've turned over a new leaf. I'm gentler, softer.
Yeah, no, I do like talking about these movies. I think that's what's great about doing surprise movies, overlooked movies, because there's no better feeling than walking out being gratified thinking it was way better than you thought it was going to be, or loving a film that no one else has really seen, and it just becomes something that you champion.
Yeah.
So for best overlooked movie for me, I think between you two, all 5 of mine, well, 4 of the 5 have been mentioned in one capacity or another.
Okay.
So best overlooked movie for me, I think this showed up in surprise category for you guys, but I have it in overlooked movie. I have EFIS, Carson Lund's EFIS here for overlooked movie. I also have Rangano Neoni's On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, completely with you there, Brendan. I have Kristen Stewart's The Chronology of Water.
Good choice.
As I noted earlier. I also have The Shrouds, David Cronenberg. Maybe not for everybody, but for me.
Just put that on the poster, The Shrouds. Maybe not for everybody.
And then the last nominee for me here is a film I recently caught up with in the last few weeks. It's a film from Courtney Stevens and Callie Hernandez. It's called Invention. It went way under the radar.
Yeah, haven't seen it.
A very good film that I really quite enjoyed. Really plays with the form. Like, it's a lot like The Chronology of Water. It's innovative in a really unique way. Maybe not for everybody, but it was for me.
Is that the subtitle for this category now?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Maybe. I will say there's another film here that very much qualifies. It's been mentioned already, but I did not consider it, and that will be made known later as to why.
Sounds good.
Leave it vague there for now. My winner for this category, it's been brought up in other categories, so I love that it's just sweeping throughout all these different categories. But I have Carson Lund's EFIS as my winner for Best Overlooked Movie. And I don't know what else to add that hasn't already been said. I am not the baseball nerd that Dave is.
It's good. Something to be proud of.
I will say, though, and we joked about this at the beginning of the show, the reason we are recording this in the afternoon, and thus the lighting might look a little differently for those that watch us often, at least on YouTube, you might know that the lighting is a little different than it usually is. We are recording this earlier than we usually do. And the reason for that is because I have a beer league hockey game later tonight. And so we had to record this in the afternoon. And because of that, and that's essentially what's happening in this film, they're just playing a beer league baseball game. They're just getting together to play the sport they love. And there's the added element that it's the last time they get to play on their local field, which I think is really great. But it's all about the camaraderie on display. And it's so singular. It's almost hard to describe unless you play some sort of beer league sport. But the way they joke around with each other is so relatable. It's immensely relatable. And I deeply love it. I love it. I mean, I don't have that affinity for baseball necessarily, but I do have affinity for that type of togethership. And I was pretty blown away by it. It's really, really fantastic. So yeah, EFIS, my winner here for Best Overlooked Movie.
Great movie.
Good stuff. All right, let's move on to another category that I love. Best Opening and Closing Credits, Sequence, or Scene. Dave, what do you have for this category?
All right. This is another actually pretty stacked category this year. There were a lot of great opening and closing scenes. So my first nominee is Sentimental Value for its closing scene. Just, I mean, Renata Rensev, just, are you kidding me? Like, how dare you just be this good all the time? I don't want to, in case people haven't seen it yet, because I know like release schedules are crazy for these, especially these neon movies, and they get really small releases. But the final scene, I'll say you're not sure what's real and what's not. And the reason you are unsure is because of her performance. Trier understands that he has one of the best of a generation working in this movie. So he just lets her tell the story. He just trains the camera on her and lets her work. And it is such a rewarding experience. I mean, that whole movie is, but especially that last scene. Sorry Baby's closing was talked about earlier before. Really excellent closing scene. Really. And it's really all about, like, in life, there is no escaping pain. The best we can do is care for one another. And I can't think of a better message to send to a young child than life is going to be hard. I hope it's not as hard as it can be, but if it is, I'm here for you. And that, like, wow, like that. And anytime, that is when the title of the movie shows up. And anytime that happens, it's always a little like, okay, are we just doing a Leo pointing at the screen thing? Okay, sorry, baby. We're saying sorry to the baby. It's happening. But it really works in the, it's really excellently written screenplay. And that is a prime example of that. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. That closing. I know JD is a big fan of that closing, the wave sequence. I just think it's incredible on a visual level, but also on an emotional level. Just
it's so good.
Rose Byrne. It's so thrilling for me personally, like Rose Byrne's biggest fan for decades, to see this come around and have her be like an awards favorite. It's like, I could never call this a bad year, because Rose Byrne will probably be nominated for an Academy Award. This is going to be a good year, no matter what. Maybe a surprise pick, Final Destination Bloodlines. The opening of this movie, really great. As all of the Final Destination movies open, there is a lot of blood, a lot of guts, a lot of craziness, but you could tell they had a little bit of a budget here, and they absolutely used most of it in that opening sequence. And that was a movie I was shocked at how much I enjoyed Final Destination Bloodlines. I thought it was really quite a good movie. And
Okay.
I've never been a Final Destination guy. I had watched the first one many years ago and not bothered to watch any of the other ones. So, like a crazy person, the week before this came out, I watched all of them. And then went to go see this on opening night. And it might be the best of the bunch. I think it's really, really good. It's certainly better acted than any of the other Final Destination movies.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
But yeah, I dig that opening a lot. And the last one is the closing of It Was Just an Accident.
Yeah.
If you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. The most haunting squeak maybe in cinema history.
Yep.
Really, really great. And I'm not going to belabor the point. That's the winner. That is the ending that haunted me this cinema year. And it's just the camera is trained on a man's face and you hear a rhythmic squeaking as someone is moving towards him, maybe. And wow, like I was kind of like shaking as this was happening. It's so good.
The most haunting squeak in cinema history. Wow, that should be on the poster.
Prove me wrong. Find another.
Unless we find one in another horror movie that's more literal about that diegetic squeakiness, but here it actually has more of a thematic purpose. So there's more artfulness in how it's employed.
Yeah,
it's great stuff.
Jafar Panahi, pretty good director. He's all right.
I agree. He's all right.
I love his job. Yeah.
Yep.
I love how I treat this category very differently from you guys because we just got done talking about our best scenes of the year, and I usually try to avoid crossover.
Sure.
So in this case, I like to solely focus on either opening or closing credits sequences specifically. Plus, I also think it's kind of a lost art. I like when filmmakers and editors and whoever's behind the camera, they play with that form a little bit and do some creative things with the actual text on screen. So my nominees include the opening credits for Hedda, which I think are very evocative and kind of creepy. The opening credits for Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest, primarily because the sweeping camera shots of New York City and the music and the text on screen kind of reminds me of 90s crime thrillers in a way. And there's something nostalgic about that, which I appreciated.
And also, just to speak to that real fast, that's when you know Spike is up to something.
Yeah,
because he's using a traditional score there. It's weird. Like it's not like Spike at all. Outside of the New York City shots.
Yeah,
right. And even that alone, like the way that's stitched and edited together, are still a little off. But it's like, what is Spike doing here? Like this is
the font choice as well. Even the font choice feels very old school in that way. Like there's something deliberately happening during that opening credit sequence, and I guess that's why I didn't really feel as bothered by the messiness of the movie, because even those opening credits kind of set me up for something interesting that's about to happen.
Yeah,
and I really appreciated that. I also have the opening credits for Marty Supreme. Of course, the sperm and everything. You kind of have to talk about that.
It's a moment. Yeah,
it's a moment.
Yes, it is.
I could talk about both the opening and closing credit sequences for The Naked Gun. The Naked Gun coming back once again. But I love how the closing credits have jokes hidden within them that you have to look for. And I found that really funny.
Also a lost art. Yeah, absolutely.
My winner, though, is my last nominee here, and that is the closing credits and, of course, post-credit scene for Sinners. And primarily because that's when I realized that what's going on here is essentially a movie about blues music specifically. And as a musician myself that loves movies that look at the evolution of musical art and how that evolves, how that influences further music still related to it, I love how this final sequence kind of recontextualizes the movie into that. And I think it's quite beautiful. So that's why it's my winner there.
Yeah, this was an interesting category for me this year because I tend to contemplate it all. Opening scenes, credit sequences, closing scenes. I do go into this trying to find a great concoction of all of that. And I think we mentioned this last week and the week before when we were just talking about scenes of the year in general. It was an astounding year for closing scenes.
Yeah, it was.
And I could not escape that this year. All of my nominees here are closing scenes just because I think it's one of those all-time years as far as endings go in film. So my nominees here are, and there is, of course, some crossover to last week. I do have the ending scene to Hamnet. I have the closing scene to Sentimental Value. As Dave mentioned earlier, the closing scene to It Was Just an Accident. And If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, of course. That beach scene there at the end is
Knew that
fantastic.
was coming.
And I do agree with you about the opening sequence to Marty Supreme, but I do have that ending scene as my 5th nominee here.
Okay.
So those are my 5 nominees.
Very dadcore. That's
very much,
Yes.
very much.
Yeah, very much so. And I don't have to speak to this a whole lot. My winner for this was my number 5 scene of the year. So I talked about this quite a bit last week on the show. It's that ending scene to Hamnet. But I will just reiterate, I do love how it recontextualizes Hamlet. And
Sure.
the one thing I guess I will add, because I was thinking about this and having a conversation with someone earlier in the week about it, I think I have gotten to the point that I think about what Hamnet is doing in terms of recontextualizing Hamlet. I feel about it the same way I feel about Christians and how they talk about the Bible, where
That's fair.
I personally feel like those stories have a lot of merit to them when they are interpreted. I don't think you're meant to take those stories and treat them as if they're literal.
Yeah.
Did God flood the entire world? No.
Yes. Wait, what?
No, I don't.
Yes.
You know, I don't
It's a
think
metaphor, guys. Okay.
I love it. I love
It's
it.
a fable. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, so like,
a
did
story.
Abraham throw down a staff and it turned into a snake in front of the Pharaoh? Probably not.
Yeah,
Probably
just
not.
a Tuesday, no big deal.
So like all of those stories have there's great things about them and from a metaphorical perspective, and they're great life lessons, which is why they're still interesting stories.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel about the same thing here in like when people talk about Hamnet, this film, and how it, like, you can't take the interpretation here literally. Like I don't think there's any sort of literalization, but like people talk about Hamnet and literalizing Hamlet, that play from Shakespeare that we all know and love.
Yeah.
I feel like they're talking about it in the same way that Christians talk about literalizing those stories in the Bible.
Yeah,
It's
like it can only be interpreted one way.
Yeah, like that's not what this film is doing. You can't talk about Hamlet as if God flooded the entire world, because that's not what's going on here. That's not what's going on here. So like I feel like you do have to look at Hamlet through a certain prism. It is interpreting Hamlet in a very different way for the purposes of this movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
I love when
how
JD
it
talks,
does
and
that.
I know exactly what tweets he's referencing. Like
I'm not trying to call anyone out. I'm just saying.
Is this how you know you've been online a little bit too much?
Maybe.
if you're
Like,
there, you're on there too much. Yes.
Yeah, like I just
That's fair.
I think you have to treat the film on its own terms. If Chloe Zhao's Hamnet was saying this is literally inspired by the death of Hamnet, and here are the exact reasons why that's the case, like scientifically, that'd be one thing. But that's not what this film is doing. It's not what this film is doing at all. Like it has
that's why it's
own
not treating itself.
interpretations.
It's not treating itself as a biopic for those reasons.
Exactly.
It's historical
Exactly.
fiction. It's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's okay.
And which she's talked about that. That's why she cast a hot William Shakespeare, and she's talked about this openly. Of
What are you
course,
trying to
that's not
say?
what
What are you trying to say about William Shakespeare? He's an uggo? Is that
maybe.
Well, I thought
maybe
that
not the
was
prettiest guy in the
historically. Isn't that true? He was an ugly man. I thought so.
Yeah. Well, like I don't. He didn't look like how he's portrayed in this movie. Let's just put it that way.
He doesn't look like Paul Mescal.
No, just not. And that's fine. Like she was very purposefully creating her own vision of those events.
Yeah.
And again, like how I feel like we should interpret the Bible as far as what the message is trying to say. That's the lesson to be learned there. I similarly, I think Chloe Zhao is just trying to say something about grief and art and how we cope individually and together. And that to me is the brilliance of that of that ending sequence. There's so much about what's happening with the two characters separately, but they also have those moments together. And it leads to that final scene with Hamnet as he walks into the dark that I just think is incredible. And notice that once again, I have talked about this for the last 3 or 4 minutes, and I have not mentioned at all a certain track that was played underneath those scenes because I don't think it goddamn matters.
I don't know what
I
you're
don't think it
talking about.
matters at all.
The first time in session history that JD is like, will you stop talking about the score? Jesus.
I know, but it's the
He's
only
finally
time.
become me. It's
That's a
finally
great
happened.
We've come full circle.
Music no longer important.
God.
And like, it's a great piece of music. I do love it, but I don't think it matters for that scene. Like, I don't like, if I have a criticism of it, is that the original score, which is 99.8% of that whole goddamn soundtrack, is so good that it didn't need to bring that in. Yeah. And we've recently found out that it was Jessie Buckley's fault. Like, she's the one that told
monster.
Chloe Zhao that's what needs to be playing there. And Chloe Zhao was like, okay, that sounds great.
You know, it's crazy. I heard the complaints about it and I was listening for it and I still didn't care. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, that is the last thing on the totem pole as far as that whole sequence is concerned, at least for me. Like, I think the prowess of it has everything to do with all those other reasons I mentioned.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's worth pointing out again because, you know, people discourse, all that sort of stuff. And Jacoby,
discourse, really?
Awesome.
People enjoy that?
Anyway, that's my
Brendan's favorite thing to talk about, the internet discourse. He's so pleased.
Never heard of it.
Train Dreams review all over again.
Never heard of it.
This doesn't exist. Shut up.
Oh, okay. Anyway, that is my win for best closing scene of the year. All right, let's get to best use of song. To reiterate, this can be original or pre-existing. It could be any soundtrack music that plays in the film. I love that we do this.
Yeah,
because a great needle drop is just as fantastic as an original song. So with that said, let's get into this. Dave, what do you have for best use of song?
All right. The first one is from apparently one of the most watched movies in Netflix history, K-pop Demon Hunters. Golden. It's a great pop song. It's fantastic. Like almost against my will, I found myself enjoying K-pop Demon Hunters. Like, I was like, you know what? I remember sitting down to watch it being like, well, this will be completely disposable and stupid and okay, but I'll watch it. And you know what? I was like, you know what? This is fun. I'm having a great time. The music's really good. The animation is fun to look at. It's good stuff. So Golden, and you could pick, you know, there's like 3 or 4 songs from that soundtrack you could pick. They're all fun pop songs. I Lied to You from Sinners. I mean, I don't know what to say about that scene that hasn't been said already. You know, when you have a director like Spike Lee talking about he was jumping up and down in the theater like he was at Madison Square Garden during that scene, I think that's all you need to know about how great and how moving that scene is. Dirty Work by Steely Dan in One Battle After Another. Guys, do you know how great a needle drop has to be to surpass Dirty Work in The Sopranos? That is extra, because when I hear that song, I almost immediately think of Tony Soprano singing that in the song in the show. And yet when I watched this, I was like, you know what? It works. It works to me way better than American Girl, which is a little on the nose.
It's a little on the nose, yeah.
You know, it's fun, but I was like, okay.
I'm glad you bring up Dirty Work like that, because it is kind of guilty by association in that regard. And I remember when that needle drop happened at the beginning of David O. Russell's American Hustle. Remember that movie? It actually utilized that there. And I was like, nope, doesn't work. Doesn't work here. Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, but here it does.
But it's better than the Leonard Bernstein needle drop in Bradley Cooper's movie. So don't need that. The REM needle drop, one of the worst needle drops of the past 10 years.
Goodness.
Next is Salt Then Sour Then Sweet from Come See Me in the Good Light, which is from Sarah Bareilles and Brandi Carlile, which uses all the lyrics are built from the spoken word poetry that is the focus of the film. So I like that it kind of, and it's during the end credits, so it really wraps up all the feelings of that movie, of which there are so many, in one like 3 to 4 minute song. I just adore it. And then you guys will probably like this, Under Pressure from Is This Thing On? Man, there's no better way to get the waterworks going than for me to listen to David Bowie's voice sans instruments. And then, you bring in the family aspect and the kids, and it's like, is it manipulative? Probably, but
Sure.
Boy, did it work on me. That just really fantastic ending to that movie. I think I'm a little lower on it than you guys, but I like it a great deal. I do wish, and maybe it will, but I hope that a lot more people see it, because I think it is it has the secret weapon that every one of her movies has, is that it has Laura Dern in it, just who makes all of this really difficult stuff truly effortless. Like, she's always phenomenal, and like in a different year, like you guys mentioned, this would be up for a lot of awards. But the winner is I Lied to You. Sinners is the music movie of the millennium. Like, I couldn't possibly give this to anything else other than I Lied to You. I stopped myself from also nominating Pale Pale Moon, which is another great music moment. Like, there's
for sure
just, it feels like dozens of great music moments in this movie. So I Lied to You is the winner for sure.
Yeah, and I was almost tempted to include the cameo at the end of Sinners with Buddy Guy, classic blues musician there. But,
absolutely.
But for all those reasons, I Lied to You, sung by Miles Catton in that great scene, is a nominee for me. And it's interesting I include him here as a nominee for me for Best Use of Song, because I primarily like to look at needle drops specifically for this category, because it's Best Original Song is a category we often talk about when we get to award season. But I can't overlook how great I Lied to You is, so I have to have it as a nominee. My remaining nominees are all needle drops, though, for their respective films. I have Firework by Katy Perry and Ari Aster's Eddington.
Nice.
I have So Very Hard to Go by Tower of Power and Freaky Tales. Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears and Marty Supreme. Maybe a more obvious one, but I think it has an emotional payoff that earns the right to be as obvious as it is.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once again, bringing back The Naked Gun. Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship. The greatest love story of the year.
Good call.
My winner is also I Lied to You from Sinners. One of the best sequences of the year. And we talked about it pretty extensively during our best scenes of the year episode on 668 and 669, respectively.
It's hard to skip that one.
It's hard to skip that one. It really is. Although I do want to give you a lot of props, Dave, for bringing up that song from Come See Me in the Good Light. Brandi Carlile's voice is amazing on that track.
Yeah.
And also, for those who enjoy good music, if you got to see the recent induction in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Soundgarden's recent induction, Brandi Carlile singing Black Hole Sun for them.
She's such a rocker, man. She's so cool. God.
She was doing an interview with Howard Stern about that, where she said, I would front that band. I would love to front that band. It's like, I'm not opposed to that idea.
Go.
That would be great.
Good stuff. All right, my 5 nominees. I also have I Lied to You from the film Sinners. I also have from the film Sinners, Rocky Road to Dublin.
Okay.
That's a nominee for me. Trunks in the film Highest to Lowest.
That is
so close to putting that one in there.
Might have been my number 6.
Yep, love that. I recently got the vinyl for that soundtrack. I was listening to it on vinyl earlier today. Really good stuff there. Forever Young in Marty Supreme. And then my last nominee here, this is from K-Pop Demon Hunters, and I believe we noted this last week, or maybe it was 668. I do love Golden. I think it's really great, but the best song in that film, I think, is What It Sounds Like. And I did heavily consider that here. I also heavily considered EJ for Best Movie Discovery, who obviously co-wrote most of that soundtrack, if not all of it. I do believe she wrote 30 songs for it, demoed most of them.
That's crazy. It's
absolutely insane. And then, of course, she was the singing voice for the lead character in that film as a result of her demoing all of those songs. And incredible. Obviously, I didn't know much about her. I know she was known in South Korea for a little bit, but this year was a huge international breakout for her. And because that soundtrack from beginning to end, I do think it's just one banger after another. So I heavily considered her for Best Movie Discovery as well. She was probably my number 6 there.
Yeah,
it's a great point.
What It Sounds Like would win this category for me in most other years. It really would have. I still heavily considered it here, but as I noted last week, I Lied to You is the scene of the year for me. So it's hard for me to not go with that here. It's an incredible song and just one of the most inventive scenes I've seen in forever. So I'm with you guys. I will make it 3 for 3. Might be the only category where that happens.
I'd be shocked if that happens in any other category.
I would too, actually. I'm looking ahead. It's like, that's not going to happen again.
It doesn't happen all that much anyway, generally.
Yeah.
But we do cross over there. And again, I think that just speaks to how awesome that moment is, that all three of us are like, that's undeniable. Undeniable.
Agreed.
Yeah. I Lied to You, the moment of the year in film for me, and Sinners. All right, let's get to one of my faves. Let's talk about best original score. Dave, what do you have here?
All right. This is one of JD and Brendan's. This is their pet category. I'm going to make mine quick. So Hedda from Hildur Guðnadóttir. I'm sure I'm butchering that name. A really strange score, kind of a discursive score that begs to be noticed, but in a really good way. Sinners from Ludwig Göransson, obviously. One Battle After Another from Johnny Greenwood. Testament of Anne Lee from Daniel Bloomberg. And I guess my surprise pick, The Secret Agent from Mateus Alves and Thomas Alves Souza.
Nice.
If for nothing else, just for the music in the, I guess we'll call it the chase sequence in the back half of that movie. Just like had my heart in my throat purely because of the score. But my winner, of course, is Sinners. I mean, I said online recently, there's a lot of great scores this year, but Ludwig Göransson is working on another level. I was just completely stunned by the score of this movie and this movie in general. I mean, it was like all the pieces really fitting together. But of course, music this movie in many ways. Yeah, it's a vampire movie and it's a movie about certain historical moments, but it's really a movie about music at its most base. And so if you don't have Göransson working on absolute peak level here, it's nowhere near as good of a film. So Göransson is my winner easily.
Yeah. And he's a nominee for me for all those reasons as well, including the likes of Bryce Dessner for Train Dreams, Young Fathers for 28 Years Later. This one might get some pushback. Howard Drossen for Highest to Lowest. I know that score will
get pushback from people.
That score has been subject to some controversy for certain individuals. It's very abrasive, but I think it absolutely works. It has a lot of personality and brings a lot of components to that movie that I think are severely underrated. Okay. And then my last nominee and my winner here, Rob Mazurek for The Mastermind.
Yeah.
And this just satisfies the jazz lover in me. I talked about this before, I think on the episode where we reviewed The Mastermind, where it is so rare to get a movie score that actually is jazz music. So often we see movies that maybe are about jazz in some way where the score might sound like jazz, but ultimately
like La La Land? What's that?
Well, okay, let me say this. I actually think La La Land's a better jazz movie than Whiplash is. I actually think it gets jazz way more right than Whiplash does. And that's not a knock on Whiplash. I think that's really more of a sports movie than anything else.
Yeah.
But like the score for a movie like Whiplash, it's not jazz. It just uses jazz instrumentation, kind of sounds jazz-like. But at least with a score like The Mastermind, it's using the right components of jazz. It's very free. It's very loose. The chords are very dissonant and experimental. It's breaking the traditional rules of music theory as jazz music is supposed to do. And I was hearing those things. And it's so rare for that to be the case in any type of movie that's utilizing some form of jazz as its primary inspiration for its musical score. And I think this one does it beautifully. I want to see this guy score as many movies as possible.
Yeah, it's a really great score. I love it as well. My only question with it is, like, is it something that he's going to keep doing? Like, is he going to get more opportunities, or is it one of those instances where he's this elite jazz artist that Kelly Reichardt knew would be able to deliver for that specific film because it would fit that film so perfectly, and it just becomes this one-off?
I don't know. That's a
what
great
I wonder
point.
about.
Because from what I understand, he is primarily just a musician. I know he plays with
Chicago
Underground.
Yeah.
He's played with a few acts as one. I think he also does some performing in New York City and some of them, like the Blue Note Jazz Club, for instance. So that is primarily what his profession is. I think he just happened to be in the right place at the right time to score this movie.
I think so too. That's why I wonder if it's just unfortunately going to be one of these one-offs because he was the perfect guy for that specific film, and that's what Reichardt wanted, versus it being a career that he wants to pursue, and maybe he'll get more. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but it just kind of makes me wonder if it'll just be this one-off. Either way, it's great and it's fantastic. But I guess we'll wait and see on that.
We'll wait and see.
Love that score. My 5 nominees for this category, I have Bryce Dessner for Train Dreams. I have Max Richter for Hamnet. Again, if you come to me talking about that last track, I will end the conversation immediately.
I will end you.
Yes. I have Sunlux for Thunderbolts as a nominee for Best Original Score. I have Ludwig Göransson for Sinners as well. And my last nominee here is Daniel Lopatin for Marty Supreme.
Good choice.
And my winner is all of them because I love my children. No.
Boo.
I will not allow it.
No, I do have a winner here, and it is Marty Supreme.
Interesting. Okay.
Deeply love this score a lot. And it's one of those things where it's funny because anytime a soundtrack becomes available, I just continually add it to this ongoing movie music playlist that I have now had to start on a different platform. Thanks, Spotify. But I started doing that with Marty Supreme, and then over the course of the next hour and a half, I basically had all of the tracks on there. Like I couldn't just pick it. Like they're all the whole goddamn album was on there.
Yeah. No, this is something I do appreciate about this score. And it honestly would have been my number 6 and just missed my 5 here. Because if you listen to the album, it actually feels like an album experience. Like it feels like it kind of has musically a beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't just feel like a collection of score tracks meant to serve a movie. Like it actually feels like its own piece of art in its own right.
Yeah, and that's what's fascinating about it because it starts off electric. It feels alive. It's like it's built on being cocky and seductive, much as what we see in that film. And then as it evolves, you do see it begin to change in tone and energy as we see in the film with Marty starting to unravel as things do not go his way. And then by the end, that pulsating energy starts to pick up again, but it's also integrated with these poignant cues, this emotional underbelly that is really great as well. So to your point, Brendan, the soundtrack certainly evolves with Marty's evolution over the course of that film. And it's just fantastic. And again, I can't really speak to it in a music nerdy kind of way like Brendan can, but I do love the instrumentation. It's extremely alluring and energetic, and I deeply love it.
It's 80s music taking place in the 1950s.
Obviously.
Yeah, basically.
I love that.
Which appropriate, of course. No, but I do really love it a lot. Yeah, that score for me just freaking rolls. So Marty Supreme, my winner for Best Original Score.
Good stuff.
All right, let's get to Best Animated Movie, Dave's fave. So, Dave, what do you have?
Best movie for best cartoon. Best cartoon.
Best movie for babies. I'm kidding. This is such a step down from last year for me. Last year, I think, actually ended up being a very good year for animated films. This year, I struggled a little bit. And I think I watched more animated films this year because I was just like searching for something to hold on to. And there's a lot of movies this year that I was like, that was pretty good. That was good, but not a lot of great. So the 5 that I have are Arco, Neja 2, K-pop Demon Hunters, Zootopia 2, and Little Amelie, or The Character of Rain. And there's a couple of those movies that were like really close to like rising above. Like I think Arco and Little Amelie especially were like, they're just missing something for me, and it just didn't quite work. And Ne Zha 2 is my winner, and I don't think it's a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination. I was lucky enough to not have to see the dubbed version, which I've heard is awful. A24 released the dubbed version, and it's pretty rough, apparently. I saw the subtitled version, and there's things that don't work, but I think those things that don't work are not supposed to work for me. There's like some like gross out humor and like little kid stuff in there. Like a lot of fart jokes, and you're like, okay, let's move forward. But the visuals in that movie are so stunning. Like some of the best visuals of the year in film. Forget animated film. Like just some really incredible stuff, especially if you're into martial arts films or movies about gods and goddesses. Like this stuff really works. And I had a great time watching it, and I was not expecting to. So I'll send out a shout out to one of our writers, Max, who is the one who basically ordered me to watch this movie.
When it comes to cartoons, you have to be forced sometimes, Dave.
A little bit. But I was really glad that I did. I had a really great time watching it. So that's my winner for best animated film this year is Ne Zha 2.
Had you seen the first one?
Nope.
Before going?
Nope. And I had asked him, like, do I need to watch the first one? He's like, no, here's the rundown of everything you need to know. It was like 2 sentences. Like it was not much.
See, that's interesting because I would argue you do. Like I think it's actually quite helpful if you do, especially because the way it begins is it picks up right after the events of 1.
Yeah.
So it's basically one long seamless movie, but
I had a great time.
It is good.
Fun.
It is quite good. And you're right. It is striking visually.
I have heard that narrative that this has been a rather weaker year for animation just in general. I'm not ready to say that because I guess I'm admitting a little bit of defeat here. I do have quite a few blind spots when it comes to animation. I haven't seen Arco. I haven't seen Ne Zha 2. I haven't even seen Zootopia 2 yet. And there's also a movie I heard some pretty good things about called Boys Go to Jupiter, which I only just recently discovered as something that people like, and I haven't seen that either.
The ultimate, not for everyone. It's there's a lot going on. It's good.
Okay. Oh, good to hear. I might catch up with it later. My 5 nominees are movies I still overall enjoy, with 1 being quite great, as I'll get to. My nominees include The Bad Guys 2, which I thought was kind of fun. There's the Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up, which I actually think is pretty underrated. That's a very fun movie. I also have K-pop Demon Hunters. I have Predator, Killer of Killers.
I missed that one. I need to watch that one.
It's pretty good. It's a lot of fun. My winner, though, far and away, is Little Amelie and the Character of Rain. And I think a lot of that just speaks to where I'm at in my life. It's the fact that I am about to have a daughter later this year. When I say later this year, I mean in just a few months. My wife is due in end of April.
Wow.
So the fact that this is mostly from the perspective of a 2.5-year-old young girl, that was very much for me at this current point. So that movie had no other choice but to win this category. It was obligated to. Yep. And I do think it's a beautiful movie on its own too. So
great opening scene too. That, now that I'm thinking about it, could have gone in that best opening or closing. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Little Amelie or the Character of Rain is a nominee for me as well. And it is the most evocative animated film of the year for sure. It is beautiful, and I do love the stunning animation of that film. I also have Ne Zha 2, so I'm with you there, Dave. I have Zootopia 2, K-pop Demon Hunters, and my last nominee here is Predator, Killer of Killers. Really like that one a lot as well. So those are my 5 nominees for Best Animated Movie. I hate to be trite here, but the best animated movie for me was K-pop Demon Hunters. And honestly, I don't think it's particularly close. I do think that it was a down year. I do agree with you there, Dave. It's not quite nearly.
Finally.
Finally. We reached.
JD hates score and hates cartoons. This is a banner year.
Dave finally got what he wanted.
I had to be here for 4 or 5 years, but I finally got in.
No, it look. Last year, I do think was quite an elite year for animation. This year doesn't quite get to those heights, but I do think this is a good 5. I don't think it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. But K-pop Demon Hunters does stand above the rest for me. I think that's why it has the international audience it does and why it's on its way to winning the Oscar. I think part of it for me as well, I did not consider this for best surprise movie, although it probably would have been nominated, but I tried to avoid crossover just so I could have more films nominated. As I noted moments ago, EJ was very much in contention for Discovery for me because of the soundtrack and how incessantly great it is from moment to moment. And I do love how this is one of those movies that isn't reinventing the wheel by any stretch of the imagination, but its execution is so powerful and moving. It just doesn't really matter, especially when the soundtrack is as good as it is. And where it all leads with that moment, what it sounds like, I just think that is a killer anthem. It is deeply poignant, the best of the bunch for me. Your Idol, I think, is a really great, maybe underrated gem of that film as well. And yeah, I just think there's a lot to love here. It's endlessly rewatchable as well. There's just a ton of fun to be had with K-pop Demon Hunters. So yeah,
especially if you have kids, they'll love it. They'll sing it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I've seen the film at least 3 times because Sam was obsessed with it for about 3 months straight. So
that'll do it.
That's great.
I certainly had opportunities to see it more, but yeah, it is really good. I quite enjoyed it a lot. So K-pop Demon Hunters, my pick for best animated film of the year. All right, let's get to best foreign language film. Dave, what do you have for this category?
Oh man, this is so hard. I hate this category so much.
After the weakness of animation, now for something completely different.
Totally.
Yeah,
I mean, I could
with
very easily give you 10 that are like 4 stars and up as far as what I've rated.
Yeah.
And you could just give this to all neon movies this year very easily.
Best foreign language film and best neon film.
Yeah, just the same thing. All right. So my 5 are Resurrection, which I talked about earlier. The Ugly Stepsister, which I am its #1 fan, apparently. I absolutely love that movie. Sentimental Value, It Was Just an Accident, and The Secret Agent. Those are my 5. I love all of them. Like I tempted to pull a JD and be like, and they all win because they're all great. And this is to say nothing of No Other Choice, The Voice of Hein Rajab. Like there's great international film this year. I'm giving it to The Secret Agent. This is a movie that I watched twice, and I'm very happy that I did because I think it's one of those movies that, because there's kind of competing storylines and different levels and different times, I think it really you really get a lot more of it on the second watch when you know where it's headed, when you know what's going on here. So that's my winner, Team Brazil, just like last year. We're back, baby. But like I said, so many good options, so many good international films. Anything that you guys choose, I'm probably going to go, that is also great. Yes.
Yeah. It has been an amazing year for foreign cinema. I do want to make a slight caveat that I have sadly not had a chance to see Resurrection yet. And Bygone is someone I am fascinated with because I loved his last film, Long Day's Journey into Night. I thought it was terrific. So I was really looking forward to Resurrection. I have a hunch that this is going to be one of those times where once I finally see it, it completely breaks everything on my list here. Yeah.
It feels like a movie you'll like a lot.
I think so. It definitely seems like a me kind of movie. I also want to preface that I was really hoping to give Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice a second watch before this. Because the first watch, I liked it, but I wasn't fully in love with it. And Park Chan-wook is kind of one of my guys. So I'm openly admitting that I might be missing something with that movie that's more me than it is the movie itself, and I want to give that a second go to see if I'm able to formulate exactly why it didn't fully hit me as much as I would have wanted. But even with that aside, my 5 nominees are, I'm not going to talk about them that much because all 5 of them are actually in my top 15 of the year.
Wow, why do you hate America? That's weird.
Among many reasons.
Well, fair. You know what, good point.
I retract that statement.
My 5 nominees include It Was Just an Accident, Little Amelie or the Character of Rain, which we just talked about, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, and The Voice of Hein Rajab. Like I said, all 5 of these are somewhere in my top 15 right now, so I'll just simply say my winner is The Secret Agent for all of the reasons that Dave talked about. I can't wait to see it again. I think it's a great movie.
Nice.
Good stuff. All right, my 5 nominees. I have Sentimental Value from Jochen Trier. It Was Just an Accident from Jafar Panahi. Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. I have Bygone's Resurrection as a nominee. And my last nominee here is Masha Shalinsky's Sound of Falling, coming out of Germany.
Yes.
All right, so my winner here for this category, and I agree with you guys. I mean, this was it's a stupid category. This is one that could go 10, 15 deep easily. But my winner for this category is Joachim Trier's Sentimental Value.
Okay.
Good pick.
This film is the entire package for me. It is very much a JD buffet. We talked about this, a few months ago when we reviewed it. But on one hand, it is this poignant examination between parents and children and shared grief, the theme of the year, as we talked about earlier.
Yes.
And as if that's not enough, the film expertly ciphers that idea through art and history in this Boyhood-esque, all-encompassing way that gives context to the kind of trauma that defines the central family in that film, and how art becomes a coping mechanism. Another tactic that I have salivated over many times here on the show, even in this conversation earlier when we were talking about Hamnet. And I just love how in the end, it echoes the likes of Gavin O'Connor's Warrior, weirdly a film that's already been brought up on this show once already.
I know,
Strange.
right? Nick Nolte,
the
baby.
second reference to that film. But it very much echoes Warrior with this drunken father at the center that brings these two siblings together. And I love how that ends in this great moment of catharsis and finding closure, another theme that I really love. And I just think it's a masterclass in storytelling and weaving history and memory and art and trauma into this narrative that I think is extremely rich. Not to mention the performances. I mean, I don't know what best casting at the Oscars is going to look like, but I would like to think that it should start with
this is what it's
film.
made for. It's what it's made for.
Yeah. SAG-AFTRA apparently doesn't like international movies, so this one wasn't brought up at SAG, so I don't know what that's going to look like, but it should begin with this film.
I'm confused by that. I'm so confused by that.
It's just behind the times. It's sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
sad.
that's fair.
Anyway, this cast is great. It would be nominated for that category if it was up to me, and it is my pick for best foreign language film of the year.
Nice
Good stuff.
All right, documentary. Best documentary. Dave, what do you got?
All right, this is another great category this year. Maybe just because I watched more documentaries this year, but man, there's a lot of really good ones. There's about 7 more other than the 5 I'm about to mention that I'm like, these are really excellent. Come See Me in the Good Light, which I mentioned already when we talked about best song. I knew I would be, but I was tremendously moved by this. You want to talk about grief and art and connection. You got it right here too. Cover Up, which is a Netflix documentary, which is about an investigative reporter who started it. His first big story was the My Lai massacre at the Vietnam War, and he's still working now. And really a beautiful documentary. I talked to one of our writers, Ben Miller, about this. There's something really interesting about having a documentary subject who does not want to be the subject of a documentary. Everything in him is screaming at him to leave the room. He feels like he should not be there, but wow, really excellent. Put Your Soul in Your Hand and Walk. Certainly not for the faint of heart. Really difficult watch. Mr. Scorsese, I could not go a year with a documentary about my guy Marty and not give it a nomination. I mean, it's like, 5 hours about Martin Scorsese, and yet kind of feels like it only scratches the surface. That is how great that man's career is. It's lovely. And then my last one is Predators, which is kind of a documentary focused on the show To Catch a Predator. And I think it's just a really interesting look at what happens when you try to do the right thing and things go sideways, and it's more about vengeance than fixing a problem. And I thought that was just a really, really excellent documentary. But my winner is Cover Up, for many reasons, one of which it is very timely with the government and the world we are living in and under right now. And it is a good reminder that the work never stops, that it's easy to give up and it's easy to say this is too big and it's too much. But if enough people say it's too big and too much, then these things keep happening. So we need people to do that actual good work and actually use the freedom of the press. That information is drastically important. And this documentary is a really good picture of why that is so.
I was really hoping to catch up with this one in time. There are actually quite a few documentaries I didn't get a chance to see. This is another category I sadly have to admit defeat on. There's so many, absolutely. The 5 I have, I really do like, but I was really hoping to see films like Cover Up, or I heard a lot of great things about this one called Grand Theft Hamlet.
Yeah, I heard about that too. I didn't get a chance to see that one.
Yeah, apparently it's like a Grand Theft Auto reenactment of Hamlet or something like that.
That sounds great.
That sounds awesome.
Like this.
There was also a movie called Folk Tales I wish I got a chance to see. Megadoc I didn't see yet. Pavements. So there's the library.
You will love Pavements. I can't believe you didn't see that.
Admittedly, I'm not a big fan of the band Pavements.
Doesn't matter. Does not matter.
But I do like Alex Ross Perry, so I'm sure I would really enjoy that. So that was another huge blind spot for me, a very regrettable one as well.
Yeah.
My nominees do include movies like It's Never Over, Jeff Buckley, which I really enjoyed. John Candy, I Like Me, The Perfect Neighbor, Predators, and Sly Lives, aka The Burden of Black Genius. And for a while, my winner was It's Never Over, Jeff Buckley, just given my love of his music and his album Grace specifically. But I do think Predators is one of the more important documentaries of the year. So that is now my winner here.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I love that it's a movie that is not just deconstructing the obsessiveness that we sometimes see in people as far as true crime, right? This is kind of like why a movie like Red Rooms from last year is so resonant. But I also love that it's examining the idea of what it means to seek closure due to reasons relating to trauma and sex abuse, and what that closure ultimately means. And sometimes understanding is more important than justice or vengeance. And I found that to be very powerful. And I think this movie taps into that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. That's why Predators is a nominee for me as well. I think it's interesting how those two winners, Predators and Cover Up, they're both fascinating and in contrast to each other, in the sense that, as you talked about, Dave, Cover Up, it's like he doesn't want to be there at all. He's trying to run from the camera at all times. David Ossett, he is on camera a lot, very much wrestling with this. And by the end, cannot get an answer to it. But he is doing the opposite. He's not running from the camera. He's embracing it. He desperately wants answers and can't find them. So those two are fascinating. But I have both of them as nominees for me. For those reasons, I also have Come See Me in the Good Light. I have the documentary 2,000 Meters to Andreevka, and also The Perfect Neighbor, which is my winner, The Perfect Neighbor from Gita Canberra. I am stunned by this film. It is equally important, I think, given current events that are unfolding right now. Even though it's not a film about ICE, I think it's interesting to see how this film spiritually, now where it ultimately goes, it is more, I was going to use a word, traditional, which is terrifying that's even the case. But in terms of what it depicts, but spiritually, I think it very much tailors to a lot of what's going on right now. But again, I also go back to the filmmaking of it. I just am stunned by how this is pieced together. It is all done through police cam footage or security camera footage. And yet what we get is a seamless narrative that is cogent in its storytelling. It's heartbreaking. There are some sequences here I cannot believe made it into the film. Such as the moment when the father has to tell the kids what happened. One of the scenes of the year, just unbelievably
guttural
heartbreaking.
Scream.
It is. Haunting, absolutely haunting in that regard. I don't know how they got access to all this footage, let alone
how they were
together.
allowed to use it.
It is unreal. Just from a filmmaking perspective, I think it's really quite innovative and tricky from an editing perspective. As I noted earlier, it's one of the best edited films of the year in that regard.
Yeah, the understatement of the year. Tricky. Yeah, good Lord. Like a 10 million piece jigsaw puzzle. Like,
yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, I don't know how they did that. It truly unreal. So it's just one of those sophisticated movies in terms of how it was put together, but the story is relevant, has always been relevant, heartbreaking. So for me, one of the best films of the year, my winner for documentary.
Good stuff.
Just real quick, one more like honorable mention, Video Heaven, also from Alex Ross Perry. He could have been another nominee. He made 2 great documentaries this year. Video Heaven, if you are a freak who is really interested in video rental and how that rose and fell, really great. It's really long. It's like 3.5 hours long, but it's great.
Yeah,
which
great
is
topic.
Ultimately why I didn't see it, because I could never find the 3.5 hours. But I will say Pavements was my number 6 here, and you are right. I don't know anything about the band, and by all accounts, it sounds like they're not for me anyway, but I was pretty blown away by that movie.
Yeah, it's almost like a mockumentary rather than a documentary.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Very fascinating.
Pretty provocative.
For sure. All right. Best cinematography. Dave, kick us off.
All right, so I've got Train Dreams from Adolfo Veloso. The Revenant wishes it could make a movie this good looking using natural lights. One Battle After Another from Michael Bauman and PTA. Wake Up Dead Man from Steve Yedlin. I was really, really impressed with the cinematography in this movie. It definitely wowed me. And like I said, that movie wowed me in ways that I was not expecting. And that sequence where you see the sunrise through the windows of the church near the very beginning of that film is just awe-inspiring.
It does not look like a quote-unquote Netflix movie.
No, it does not have the quote-unquote Netflix sheen, which you guys have talked about quite a bit.
I know.
Sinners from Autumn Durald Arkapaw, and 28 Years Later from Anthony Dodmantle. A lot of that 28 years later, I just can't believe that has not been talked about more in terms of the Academy. It's crazy. Some of the things that they were doing just to set up these rigs, I'm just like, what on earth? Like, we're just gonna have 9 million iPhones strapped to a rig, and we're gonna figure this out. Like,
and then
really
what it does, what the execution of that, and what it actually entails, the way that just things shift like that.
Oh my god, yeah,
really very innovative,
really impressive. My winner, though, is Sinners, Autumn Durald Arkapaw. I just think this is one of the best looking movies of the year, maybe of the past 4 or 5 years. It killed me not to give it to a PTA movie, but I mean, this is really excellent visually. I mean, obviously that one scene that has been talked about ad nauseum. I won't go over it again because you guys talked about it in your best scenes of the year. I mean, that was just flawlessly shot. It is a scene that very easily could teeter on silly in the wrong hands. And luckily it's in the hands of Ryan Coogler and Autumn Durald Arkapaw, who is my pick for best cinematography.
Yeah, also a nominee for me as well for those reasons. We have a lot of crossover in this category there, Dave, because I also have Anthony Dodmantle for 28 Years Later, Alfonso Veloso for Train Dreams, or Adolfo Veloso, excuse me, for Train Dreams, Michael Bauman and PTA for One Battle After Another. My other nominee that's a little bit different is Kim Woo-hyung for No Other Choice. I pick. Well shot movie as well. I almost wanted to put Christopher Blavelt for The Mastermind. That would have been my number 6, just given how 70s aesthetic what that movie is. I have a soft spot for that, but I can't ignore the craft of something like Sinners or 28 Years Later. There's just something about the way those cameras move. I am going to give it to Michael Bauman and PTA for One Battle After Another here, and primarily because it's just the simplicity of certain camera placements where it just had me thinking, like, I didn't know you can do that and just have it be that easy, right?
Yeah.
Like just like the sheer placement of a camera on what is essentially a car bumper and how that means so much and adds so much of a thrilling component. And it's not even just that; it's also the car chase that opens the movie, the first third, which is almost French Connection like, and how thrilling that it is. Yeah. And I believe PTA has talked about how a movie like The French Connection was inspiring him during that particular chase, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. But yeah, it's not necessarily work behind the camera that's reinventing the wheel, but it's making certain choices that almost seem like, how did no one think of that before?
Right.
And I just love how PTA and now Michael Bauman make it look so easy. And I'm guessing that, I mean, I know Bauman is the sole credited cinematographer on this movie, but they've been working together as a partnership in past movies already, that it might as well be a dual nominee here.
I mean, just for that road sequence, my God, like if you didn't see that on the biggest screen possible, just so incredible.
It's great. So that's why it's my winner there.
Yeah, that is a great pick. Love the cinematography. Yeah, those long lenses on the road sequence, just all-time stuff. Do love it. As far as my 5 nominees here, I also have Kim Woo-young for No Other Choice. I have Adolfo Veloso for Train Dreams, Dong Jingzong for Resurrection. I also have Anthony Dodd Mantle for 28 Years Later, and Autumn Durald Argopal for Sinners. Okay, what I'm about to say here is going to sound disrespectful, and I don't mean it that way. I don't mean this to be disrespectful at all, because there were a lot of great movies this year with incredible cinematography. I just want to highlight how great I think this is.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna use sports as an analogy here, because art is sports. That's what we've done. Right. And hockey is my sport of choice. So I'm going to use a hockey reference here. And I'll have Dave help me out here, because he actually knows this one quite well. So there's this young player for the San Jose Sharks. His name is Macklin Celebrini. Okay.
That's my guy.
very, very good. He is the next Sidney Crosby. For those average hockey fans or non-hockey fans that don't know the sport all that well, I mean, you think about the best players in any sport, he's going to be the next superstar.
He's 19.
He's 19.
19.
Exactly. So before he came to the NHL, when he was 18, he played at Boston University, I think it was, or Boston College. I can't remember. It was one of the two. And when you watched him play at the university level, your immediate thought was, oh, he doesn't belong here.
It's so true.
He's too good for university. He needs to be at the NHL level. He just doesn't belong here. He's just way, 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 way better.
It's like
than
watching LeBron
else.
In high school. Like, it's just,
exactly. Just doesn't, but like he needs to be playing at the highest of levels. That's exactly what I thought about when I watched Resurrection. This just doesn't belong with anything else. Like, this is just way better than anything else I've seen this year. Like, and again, not because there's other great players at the NCAA level. Like, I'm not trying to diminish those players. Macklin Celebrini is just different. What Dong Ji-song does for Resurrection, just different. I mean, just absolutely stunning. Like, best cinematography for 2025, as far as I'm concerned, begins and ends with that film. Okay. Like, it's not even a competition. It's over.
This just makes me feel even guiltier for not having seen it.
This is the second year in a row that you've had kind of that experience, like Nickel Boys, right?
Yeah,
last year. Like,
exactly.
Like, what are we talking about?
and also, what's so fascinating, it's just not the vibrant hues of that film. What's also incredible for those that haven't seen it, it's 5 segments, and it's an ode to cinema. So the first segment is like a silent film. And then you get to the noir era of cinema, which is the second one. And then it's like the new Hollywood era. And then by the end of the film, it's like modern cinema. And in each sequence, the cinematography gorgeously reflects that. And the central colors that inhabit those sequences, they change. So you get incredible black and grays early on. When you get to the noir sequence, it is just covered in this immaculate blue light. With the con artist sequence, there are these incredible yellow colors. The vampire sequence is it's drenched in blood red. It is phenomenal. Not to mention the vampire sequence is a 30-minute one-take shot as well.
Yeah.
So
he's
there's
flexing for sure. Like,
just absolutely flexing. Like, some of the shadow work there, like, it's nothing short of stunning. So, like, again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I know it might sound that way, because all the other nominees I have, and even the nominees you guys have that I didn't mention, love them. That's not to say that they're bad. But sometimes a superstar is a superstar. And when they flex their superstar muscles, there's nothing you can do to stop them.
Like the way you're describing the way this movie looks, Resurrection specifically, it's reminding me of, you guys ever watch Mad TV growing up? The character of Stuart, played by Michael McDonald, who always would scream, "Look what I can do." That's what it sounds like you're describing with this movie.
Yeah, it's very much, it feels like a man amongst boys. Like it just like, okay, like it's easily, like it wasn't even a competition. I listed out 4 other nominees here just for the sake of the exercise. And like, again, I love them. Absolutely love them. They deserve to be nominated. But I could have just listed Resurrection and just went home. Like that's because that's
okay. Good looking movie, man. No doubt.
Phenomenal. It is a shame that the Oscars aren't even going to consider it. It is insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, let's get to the screenplay categories. Best adapted screenplay. Let's start there. Dave, what do you got?
All right. So I have highest to lowest on my adapted screenplay. I think this is pretty interesting as an adaptation. We talked earlier about like trying to adapt a masterpiece. Talk about gutsy. But I think it really works. Hedda from Nia DaCosta, also adapting kind of a classic. So that's also really gutsy, and also of course changing sexualities of characters and expected race of characters. Really, really great. Begonia from Will Tracy. I have not seen the original that it's based on, the Korean film it's based on, but I was kind of in awe of this movie. I think more highly of it than most.
JD and I really like it as well, because it reminds us more of earlier Yorgos Lanthimos in the vein of something like The Lobster or Dogtooth, which is the vein we kind of respond more to that era of him. I think.
Same. I'm in the right place. That's good. Yeah. One Battle After Another, of course, from PTA. Barely an adaptation of Pitchin'. Like there's some things it shares, but it's wholly its own thing.
Technically, though, it qualifies here.
It does, technically, yes. It is based on something previous. And my last and my winner, and this is where I make some enemies, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from Guillermo del Toro. A movie I absolutely adore, and I knew that I would as soon as it was announced. The fact that he made a version of Frankenstein that is not exactly faithful to its source material, but I think it's faithful to its spirit, and also tells a story that GDT wants to tell. You could very easily call this Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Just like they did with Pinocchio, because it is very much a story that, of course, matters to him. He's been trying to tell the Frankenstein story his entire career, and I'm so happy he finally got to tell it, but in his own way and with millions of dollars. God bless. Take all that Netflix money and make it as big and as bold as you can. So that is my winner, Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein.
If there is a big surprise on this episode thus far, it's the fact that it took this long for you to mention Frankenstein.
I know.
Seriously, I was about to say the same thing.
And I talked about short list, long list, all that. Frankenstein was like 6 to 8 on a lot of these earlier awards. It was just
that's fair.
But again, like you talked about, JD, I want to talk about as many movies as possible. I didn't want it to be like, Frankenstein again, overlooked. Definitely.
We often try to avoid the pitfalls of like having 1 or 2 movies that just fit every category in some way. And sometimes those movies come along, and it is worth doing that. But we see so many movies, and there's so many great movies. We want them to be recognized. And I'm absolutely with you on that regard, Dave. And I love this pick for Frankenstein because it very much isn't Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And I love that.
Were people mad about that? Goodness.
Well, let them be mad, because I don't like seeing faithful adaptations of classic works. Because if that's the case, I'll just reread the source material.
Read a book.
Exactly. Go read a book, people.
That's what I'm finding right now with Train Dreams. That screenplay it is nothing like the book. You talk about the
awesome.
art of adaptation. It is unbelievable.
Yep.
That's awesome. Speaking of which, Train Dreams from Clint Bentley is a nominee for me, as well as Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, and Nia DaCosta for Hedda. So we had some crossover there as well, Dave. I also have Alex Garland for 28 Years Later, which I guess technically a adapted screenplay, even though it's a complete
world.
Yeah, and I guess kind of have to say the same thing about Rian Johnson's Wake Up Dead Man, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like an adapted screenplay. It's just purely another extension of an already original work, which is just weird to say that it's now an adapted screenplay for those reasons.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah.
Yeah. But, rules being what they are, those are now my 5 nominees. I'm actually going to give it to Alex Garland for 28 Years Later.
I love that pick.
I think it's mostly because I didn't expect it to be what it was going into it. It continues this franchise's trend of reinventing a genre that it participates in, because for a film that is ultimately about the dead, it's way more interested in the living human soul than anything else. It is one of the most soulful films of the year, and that sheer unpredictability of what it's going for really took me back. And I think it's one of the most tender and sweetest depictions of what it means to say goodbye to a loved one that I've seen in quite some time. Just that thematic idea, I think, is very beautifully rendered here, and I loved it for those reasons. I actually think it might be my favorite script from Alex Garland, which I know might rub some people the wrong way, given how great of a writer that he normally is.
Sometimes,
unless he's at a civil war with himself, then
here we go.
We're not going to go that way. I love his work with films like Ex Machina and even Annihilation. I think Annihilation is really good. I think he's at his best when he's working with genre, when he's participating in genre filmmaking. That is his wheelhouse. It absolutely is. And I love how he's kind of deconstructing it once again here with 28 Years Later.
Yeah.
Another way you could say it with Alex Garland, maybe not for everybody.
There we go. And we're back.
That's the next t-shirt.
Once again,
clearly.
the theme of 2025 on the InSession Film Podcast.
Maybe not for everyone. No, I'm with you. Alex Garland, 28 Years Later. That is a nominee for me. I also have Hamnet, Chloe Zhao, Maggie O'Farrell for that film. The aforementioned Train Dreams, Clint Bentley and Greg Quidar. And I had them as a nominee before I started reading Train Dreams, but I'm especially glad with that nomination post started reading that book. And then I also have One Battle After Another, Paul Thomas Anderson. And then my last nominee here is Wake Up Dead Man from, it says here, Rian Johnson. Okay.
It says here.
It says here. Is it saying to you?
So those are my 5. But we have some more crossover here because I am with you, Brendan. 28 Years Later, Alex Garland is
that, man?
Also my pick for adapted screenplay. And unlike Rian Johnson, I agree, Wake Up Dead Man feels more like an extension of that series. But to your point, Brendan, 28 Years Later actually feels more like a true adaptation because it is deconstructing the zombie or not just franchise, this franchise and the zombie movie at large, while also being a subtle rebuke of nationalism. I find all of that brilliant, where most zombie movies, to one degree or another, are about survival. I do love that this film is about remembrance and embracing the grieving process. I think that's what makes the juxtaposition of Spike so fascinating, where he's supposed to go into the woods to become a man by killing his first zombie early on. But what he does instead is take his mom in the woods to save her.
Yeah.
And I love what the film suggests about Spike in that regard, and that coming of age isn't born out of masculinity or how well he shoots a bow, but rather it's in his willingness to be vulnerable. And as a result, it is so emotionally engrossing to see his journey crystallize with him coming to terms with his mother's death and honoring the dead. And I guess to your point earlier, Dave, about how on the nose that may be, and maybe it is, but I do find that symbolism incredibly redolent and moving. And I also love, again, going back to the politics of this movie, Garland and Boyle's inclusion of Rudyard Kipling's poem Boots. because the way they channel grief and love is a great little jab at governmental apathy and the overarching political overtones this franchise has always carried. So I do think the writing here from Garland is incredibly sophisticated and poignant and really beautiful. I love how tender it is. And again, going back to surprises in movies, I just don't know if I expected that with this franchise. But I think Garland and Boyle absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, it's way more Train to Busan than it is 28 Days Later in a way. At least like the emotional core of what it's going for generally.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just fitting that 2025 theme, apparently. I don't know what was in the water, but it works here. Works wonderfully in 28 Years Later. And also, just last note, that pregnant zombie sequence, again, going back to that polarity of weird grotesqueness and also the beauty of this film. I don't know what inspired Garland as far as that sequence is concerned, but man, I was pretty blown away by that.
I have never seen that before. Like I've never seen anything like that. And really in any movie. That is absolutely astounding.
I agree. And a big reason why Garland gets my vote here for best adapted screenplay. All right. Original screenplay. Dave, what do you got?
All right. I've got Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Just really incredible screenplay. It has big ideas on its mind and, in my opinion, manages to get them all across in really efficient ways. Sorry Baby from Ava Victor. We've talked at great length about how amazing her year was as a writer, director, and star. The Secret Agent from Kleber Mendoza Filho. It is one of those movies, like I said, when you watch it again, I think you'll see the true kind of the genius of that screenplay. Because there's so much you're trying to catch up with as the movie goes on, as it's like introducing characters and plot lines that you're kind of like, wait, what? And it does all come together at the end, but when you watch it again, you can really see that connective tissue. Sentimental Value from Joachim Trier and Escovote. A lot of movies talk about a city or a home as a character. And I like the fact that this movie opens with like, I'm going to make that not subtext, but text. Let's go through time to start this movie. It's really gutsy.
Let's give the house a voiceover narration and do what Robert Zemeckis thought he can do last year.
We've almost made it through an entire end of the year without the Please Retire award. God bless. Sentimental Value. And the last one is Marty Supreme from Josh Safdie and Ronald Bronstein. Just a truly incredible screenplay. Talk about having a lot of ideas and doing them quickly. My goodness, what an exhausting experience that movie is, like many Safdie and Bronstein movies are. A lot of it made as the panic attack in a movie, whether you're talking about Uncut Gems or Good Time or Marty Supreme. You've got a lot of that connective stuff there as well. But my winner is going to be The Secret Agent. I'm kind of in love with this movie. Even if you took out the International Film Awards, like this should still be on a lot of people's lists. I just think it's a really impressive work, really great acting, really great screenplay. It all kind of ties together by the end and takes some risks in that final sequence that really end up paying off for me. So The Secret Agent is my winner for best original.
Love that.
It's another stat category because The Secret Agent, as much as I love that movie, not quite one of my 5 nominees. My 5 nominees include the likes of David Koepp for Black Bag, Carson Lund for Ephus, Mary Bronstein for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. But I also have, as far as crossover with you, Dave, I have Ronald Bronstein and Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, as well as Joachim Trier and Escovote for Sentimental Value. My winner, though, is for Sentimental Value, at least of these 5. It wasn't really that close for me. I think it's the most elaborate, thematically invigorating, incredibly humane written film of this particular category, but it's also very deconstructionistic at the same time too, in the ways that it's all about blurring the line between art and life, which we often see in a lot of movies. But again, there must be something in international waters specifically that know how to tackle this theme more so than we can in America, because I was reminded of movies like Drive My Car, for instance, that did that very thing. And I think this one does it very well too. So I think it's a beautiful movie for all those reasons. It's a really great and elaborate script that gives characterization to things that aren't even necessarily characters, to your point, Dave, about the house. And that's a really that's a really great testament to Joachim Trier and Escovo's talents.
Absolutely.
Yep, I'm with you. That is a nominee for me as well, sentimental value. I also have Sorry Baby from Eva Victor. Ryan Coogler, he wrote a movie called Sinners. I don't know if you guys know that or not.
Yeah, little movie.
Yeah, little movie. I also have Marty Supreme, Josh Safdie, and Ronald Bronstein. And then my last nominee here is my boy Jafar Panahi, who is going back to Iran to be arrested as soon as the award season is over for It Was Just an Accident and A Twist of Irony. And gotta love that as a coda to that film and what that movie is about.
Seriously, that
unbelievable.
That adds a new context to that movie. Yes. An unfortunate one, but one nonetheless.
I love that he's embracing it though. Like he is strong in his convictions, and I love that about Panahi. So those are my 5 nominees for Best Original Screenplay. I don't think I have to spend a lot of time here. I've already noted that Sentimental Value is my vote for Best Foreign Language Film. So it also gets my vote here for Best Original Screenplay as well. I just think it's a masterclass in storytelling. Again, the way it weaves history and memory and art and trauma.
Yeah,
I just think is quite remarkable and leading to one of the best endings of the year that we noted earlier as well. So yes, Sentimental Value, my vote for Best Screenplay of 2025. All right, Best Director. Good luck, fellas. What do you have for this?
What are you talking about? This was easy. There's only
another bloodbath. My goodness. All right, so we'll start with the obvious. PTA. Okay, like PTA is one of my guys, one of my favorite directors, and this seems bigger and bolder than almost anything he's ever done. I mean, you could bring up stuff like Boogie Nights, but Boogie Nights feels like he's wearing a Martin Scorsese mask the whole time and trying to recreate some stuff. This feels like fully his, and pretty masterful work. Hard to argue. Ryan Coogler in Sinners, in many ways, a movie about Black ownership of art and made with a gigantic budget. And, you throw in everything about music and how throughout history, white people have robbed Black people of music and capitalized on that. And it's also like a really fun genre horror movie. Like he manages all of this and a great musical, if you want to call it that. Like there's so much going on here with this movie. Yeah. And it is all helmed by him. And he is quickly proving, and he's one of my guys too. I love Coogler. I love everything he's ever done. And he's showing us like, I can do it all.
Yeah.
I could do anything that I set my mind to, anything that's put in front of me. I'm going to make it the best version that it can be. You look at something like Black Panther being like, this is kind of the ideal of what a comic book movie can be and still be a really, really great film. Like he is able to manage all of that.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. Guillermo del Toro, Frankenstein.
There it is.
What?
Shocking. Oh, no. I know. No, you knew it was coming.
Wait, Dave, you like Gothic horror, right? I'm totally shocked by that. I had no idea.
A little bit.
Wait, what was your favorite movie last year again? Oh
Nosferatu. That's right. Yeah.
Oh man, I was just about to say, Dave, you should probably watch this movie called Nosferatu. I think you're right.
All right. My fourth nominee is Lynn Ramsey for Die My Love. Just a remarkable feat of direction in that movie.
I agree.
Just really stunning.
She's polarizing. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but
I've heard that about her. Not to me. Also was on my shorter list of best cinematography, one of the best looking movies of the year.
That's a movie that made my short list on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of just on the cusp in a lot of things.
Yeah, I agree.
And then my last is Jafar Panahi from It Was Just an Accident. And here's what I want to say, because we've already talked about how great that movie is and the ending and all that. A lot of times when we in these cinema circles talk about courageous performances or he made this movie and it was really brave. Shut up. Stop saying that.
No, because only one person owns the right to patent that kind of experience.
This guy, as you mentioned, JD.
Yeah.
Not only risked his life to make this movie, has decided to return to his country because his country is home. No matter what bad things happen to be going on, and who in America doesn't understand that right now, it's still home. And he's making the choice after taking that risk to essentially turn himself in.
Yeah.
For making a movie that dares to challenge the system in that country. And the fact that he is willing to do that, you want to talk about courage, you want to talk about bravery when making art, that is what that looks like.
Yeah.
And also it's a really brilliantly directed film. It's kind of stunning.
It is. Yeah.
But my winner, I'm going to Ryan Coogler. For all the reasons that I kind of mentioned. Like he manages to do everything that he sets out to, and also really make a really impactful movie when it comes to Black cinema. And that is hard to do, where you can make a movie that is widely accepted by the masses and highly thought of in these smaller groups, right? Nickel Boys last year did one of those things and not the other.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler manages to do it all in this movie. And I was already going to be excited about whatever he does next, but I'm like, how do you top Sinners? That's going to be a tall order. So Ryan Coogler, even though I love PTA, I love GDT, two of my favorite directors, Ryan Coogler gets it for me this year.
Yeah, it speaks to how great this year is for film when there's not really a consensus as to what people agree is the best of the best, but no one also simultaneously disagrees with other choices that are brought up. So when I bring up my 5 here for Best Director and the fact that Ryan Coogler and PTA are not among my 5, it just goes to show how varied this year is as far as the skill levels involved behind the camera. And I think it's also a very special year as far as directors outside of America. And 3 of my nominees are actually among foreign language filmmakers. One of them being Coucher Ben Hania for The Voice of Henry Job, which is a film I really liked at first, but after our conversation on it, JD, I've been liking that movie more and more, and it's been really sitting with me as far as being yet another example of brave cinema, but also why Jafar Panahi for It Was Just an Accident is a nominee for me as well. I think you're right, Dave, saying that there is no other braver version of how to make a movie than this one. I think that is very fair. Among my nominees, I also have Kleber Mendoza Filho for The Secret Agent. And then my other 2 nominees to round this out include Danny Boyle for 28 Years Later and Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme. But man, there was such great direction work all around from many talents involved. At one point, I even had Mary Bronstein in here for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I had her for screenplay as well, but great direction work there too. There was a lot of innovation happening in 2025, which I think was a great theme as far as why this was a great year for cinema. And my winner here, surprisingly, is actually Kleber Mendoza Filho for The Secret Agent. And partially why he's my winner is because it's not what he does, but what he chooses not to do that really sticks with me. There's a lot of restraint in how he operates the camera and how he plays with the form of a typical political thriller, which while this movie is, it's also not that at all. And what he chooses not to showcase actually makes the movie more effective. He's more interested in creating a vibe and a feeling of what it must have been like to live under Brazilian dictatorship. It's not as interested in the literal politics of what that was. He's more interested in creating a vibe of what that must have felt like to live in that world, which honestly I think is kind of harder to do. And I love how he does that. It's probably one of the best examples of establishing a real sense of place that I think I've seen in any movie in 2025. And then when Filho does finally begin to play with the tropes of the political thriller, it's maybe the most thrilling version of it. That split diopter shot at the records office, one of the most thrilling things I think I've seen. It's the kind of moment where it earns the right to say that you were breathless while watching it, and I absolutely was. And there are many moments like that in the film as well.
Yeah,
great. Yeah, I feel terrible when talking about The Secret Agent in this context because I do really love it. Spoiler alert, it is in my top 20. So we'll talk about it more in part 2. But as far as this conversation is concerned, it's one of those movies that is constantly on the short list on the outside looking in.
Sure.
So we did best foreign language film earlier. That was my number 6. When we're talking about screenplay, it's probably my number 6. When we're talking about cinematography, yeah, that's probably number 10. You know, if we did editing, very much in that conversation. So like, you know, it's like one of those movies that's constantly lingering there, even if it's not quite nominated for me. Although there is one we'll get to here in just a little bit. But that is to say, I do think it is one of the best directed movies of the year. I think it's one of the best written and performed movies of the year. Just a little bit on the outside looking in for me, as far as, you know, when we're talking about a top 5 in each category. But I do really love it. Yeah, one of those movies that's like, yeah, this film is great. It's one of the best films of the year. But then it doesn't show up here, and you're like, man, I feel like a jackass.
you know it's a good year when you look at, let's say, your top 50, and a movie that places like at, let's say, I don't know, number 38 is still one of the best films of the year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And insane. All right, best director for me. Boy, this was challenging to your guys' points earlier. My 5. I have Paul Thomas Anderson. He directed a movie called One Battle After Another, in case you forgot. Ryan Coogler for the film Sinners. Danny Boyle, 28 years later. Kelly Reichardt, The Mastermind.
Good choice.
A film, I don't know if you guys knew this, was directed in 1975, but showed up in 2025.
Yeah. It was originally supposed to be Elliot Gould.
Exactly. And then my last nominee here is Bygone for Resurrection. I flipped a coin earlier, and I did come down with the winner.
A 5-sided coin. I want to see that one.
Exactly. A 5-sided coin. No, like I love all 5 of these nominees. And while this was challenging, I do think this comes down to Paul Thomas Anderson and Ryan Coogler for me. In a lot of ways, this is a 1A, 1B situation.
Sure.
So that's not to take away from Paul Thomas Anderson. I think he made arguably the movie of the year, but I'm going with Dave here. We are going to cross over with Ryan Coogler. And I think a lot of it comes down to, well, a lot of what you were saying in terms of this film and how it examines the Black diasporic experience, assimilation and passing. There are the parallels to Irish colonization, and ultimately how Remick has this offer of eternal life that is symbolic of the looting of Black musicianship. And all of that is phenomenally funneled through this incredible, sexy, seductive Southern Gothic vampire movie. It is unbelievable how he was able to make all of that work. It is soulful. It is exquisite. It has the scene of the year. It has some of the best cinematography. Earlier with Sentimental Value, we were talking about best casting. This absolutely has to be in that conversation as well. It should be nominated for best casting. An incredible ensemble cast here. And it's incredible how it has all of these moving parts. And yet I find it nothing short of masterful. It really is one of the best films of the decade so far. Incredibly thoughtful and provocative. And I just love it. Again, like when you're talking about stuff like On the Outside Looking In, if like in any other year, if not for I Lied to You, which again, song of the year, scene of the year, I might consider some of the other musical sequences here as far as song of the year or scene of the year. It's incredibly deep in that regard. And as far as direction goes, I'm pretty blown away by what Coogler does here.
Good stuff.
And really it's sophisticated. Stuff. There's a lot of moving parts here. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think it is entirely seamless. It is a little messy, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I think when we discussed this earlier in the year, I called it perfectly imperfect, a messy masterpiece, if you will.
Yeah. It's honestly why it was maybe my number 6 of my list here and why I almost included it. It does trip over its ambitions a little bit, Ryan Coogler's work at times. But when it does work so well, it almost makes you forget about those moments. Like especially during the one take sequence that we already talked about. That's really great stuff.
Yeah, it's a little reminiscent of Spike Lee in that regard, but I think Ryan Coogler is quite aware of that and simply leans into it and uses it to his advantage. And as a result, I think that's why so many of these scenes are so seductive, why they're so innovative in a lot of ways. And I love how all of this comes together on a metaphorical level, on a thematic level. Again, the like how he incorporates Irish culture into this film as these parallels unfold. It's brilliant. It's nothing short of brilliant. I deeply love it. See, it is the directorial achievement of the year for me. Ryan Coogler, Sinners.
Nice.
Okay, let's move on to the acting category. So we have 4 more, and then we are done with part 1 of the InSession Film Awards. It's crazy. We are finally here, guys. Let's start with Best Supporting Actress. Dave, what do you got?
All right. So I got Wunmi Mosaku from Sinners. Just a really incredible performance. I mean, there's incredible performance throughout that movie. She is one that really, really stuck with me. This kind of like Earth Mother, witchy, also like really sexy and also really grounded at the same time. It may be the most difficult role in the entire film, and she absolutely nails it. And I'm sorry, but maybe the most memorable line of the year in cinema, "Your body remembers me." And I was like, whoa, that's the type of movie we're watching. Okay, yeah, Ryan. Okay, all right. You mentioned sexy and seductive, and it is there from the very beginning. Inga Ibsdottir Lilias from Sentimental Value. Just, I mean, to go toe to toe with Renata. Oh my God. Yeah. To me, she's the best performance in the movie. And there's a lot of greatness going on here. That one particular scene where she tells her sister, "It was different for me because I had you." Just lock it up. We're done here. This is the best, like really, really excellent performance. And this is another actress that I had no knowledge of before this movie. And for her to go up against these other heavyweights that I did know, really impressive.
Great discovery. Yep.
This will be on no one's list, I'm sure, but Ursula Corbero from Kill the Jockey, a movie that not very many people saw. I just thought she was really, really incredible here. Really a mysterious role. I don't want to say too much about it because I want people to go see it. I want people to watch this movie, but really impressive and really stuck with me. Sun Ye Jin from No Other Choice. A lot has been made of the lead male performance in this movie. I guess this is a supporting female performance, but
this is the better performance, I think.
Oh my God. I just think she's so great in this movie. Like, because like you could see why he's doing what he's doing. With her, you're constantly trying to catch up. You're constantly trying to figure it out. And when you finally do, and when the movie finally comes to its apex, it's because of her, not because of him. And I could not stop watching her in this movie. And the last one is Tiana Taylor from One Battle After Another. This has been talked about ad nauseum in every awards podcast you can think of. Really an impressive performance because I don't think she's designed to be wholly likable. She is, she starts out, of course, as a revolutionary. We are used to mother characters being completely maternal, and that is not who this character is.
Yeah.
She, at the beginning of this movie, at least, you feel like she doesn't want any part of motherhood.
Another theme of 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, this blank is made for war, is what she says. So she's not the mothering type. And I think it is a very layered character that is easy to shove aside if you want to. But there's a lot going on here. But my winner is Sun Ye Jin. I think it's the best supporting performance, female supporting performance of the year. And she is the reason that I want to go back to this movie. Because I think it might rise up in my rankings a little bit if I watch it again, like you mentioned, Brendan. But I really think it's because of her. So that's my winner for best supporting actress.
Yeah, she almost made my list because, as we talked about with our review, JD, even though I liked the movie but didn't love it fully yet, I think the way I can find an in with it is by focusing on her character. And I think looking at it through her eyes, I think really will add some new context to that particular movie. We do have some crossover here, Dave. I also have Inga Ibsdottir Lilias for Sentimental Value and Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another. My other nominees for Best Supporting Actress include Odessa A'zion for Marty Supreme, Pamela Anderson for The Naked Gun, very committed to the bit. I think it's really quite terrific.
Yeah.
And lastly, Amy Madigan for Rebuilding.
Nice.
So I'm playing the contrarian game.
I love that. That's the performance, I would argue, for sure. Yeah.
My winner here, though, is no contest. It is Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another. She's my favorite part of that movie. I love that whole segment. And to your point, Dave, I love how challenging that it is to make her character not the most sympathetic of individuals. There's a very challenging nature to that, yet there is something that we're still drawn to. So when she is no longer in the film, there's almost like this ghostly aura that she still inhabits the film in some way. Kind of reminds me a little bit of how Mahershala Ali's character in Moonlight still exists in the movie, even when he's no longer in the movie. There's like this ghostly quality that he constantly haunts it. And what Tiana Taylor brings to this movie is rather similar to that, maybe in a more devastating and kind of prickly way. But you always feel like that influence is bleeding into the lives of now these new main characters, Case Infinity specifically. So when that ending comes and that letter is read, it actually does mean something. And it's because how great this performance is from Tiana Taylor that you are now forced to remember it when it gets to that point in the end. So it's really challenging stuff and great stuff, I agree with.
Yep, I am wholeheartedly there with you. Tiana Taylor, One Battle After Another is a nominee for me as well. I also have Wunmi Mosaku from Sinners, Inga Ibsdottir Lilias from Sentimental Value, Odessa A'zion from Marty Supreme, and my last nominee here, I will cross over with you, Dave, and Sun Yijin from No Other Choice.
Good stuff.
Some really great options there, because there were three others that I heavily considered for this category. Maybe underratedly very good category here. Best Supporting Actress. My winner, though, I am completely with you, Brennan. It is Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another. I really do love how challenging the character is. I noted a moment ago, it certainly was a theme when you include the likes of Die My Love and If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Both of those films feature mothers that are also challenging norms in a lot of ways as far as maternal instincts are concerned. And I do love those nuances here with Perfidia, as you noted, Brendan, completely committed to her convictions. Her whole identity is tied up in being a revolutionary. So when she becomes a mother and you get a more or less a condensed 2-minute version of Die My Love, where she does not get the support and love she needs from her partner and just becomes a little detached from the family life, then she just leaves, much as we see with Jennifer Lawrence at the end of that movie. I mean, it's incredible, but the performance and the character is so robust, it lingers way, way, way long after she leaves the movie, and it very much impacts the choices that other characters make as the film goes on. So I deeply love the performance as well. And also just aside from the revolutionary side of it or her scenes with Leonardo DiCaprio, like the seductive role play that she has with Sean Penn is also quite invigorating.
Sure.
It's just really interesting how that impacts
very provocative stuff.
That character as well, the Sean Penn character. It's really interesting. So some subversive things happening with Perfidia that I think comes through impeccably in Taylor's performance. And again, one of those performances, short screen time, but major impact.
Very challenging performance as well. But when she's there with Sean Penn, she's able to rise to the occasion.
Yes.
Boo.
Yes, she does.
Had to do it.
Yes. Hard not to pick her. Okay.
Family show, guys. Come on.
Okay, let's not get demonetized here.
I know.
Why am I the person? It's not.
Yeah, Dave, who are you?
Best actor in a supporting role. Dave, what do you got?
All right. You just mentioned Sean Penn in One Battle After Another. He is one of my nominees. It's been strange to watch the opinion of this performance versus Benicio del Toro as the kind of awards lead switch. I love Benicio in this movie. I think he's great, but I think Sean Penn is really working on another level, especially physically, the way he moves his body, the way he, the way he brushes his hair, everything going on in this movie is like, I can see why people would not like it, because it is very, very actorly. There's a lot happening with this performance, but I really love it. I just think I think he's a great villain, really terrifying in many ways. So Sean Penn is my first. Stellan Skarsgård in Sentimental Value. You can argue that this is not actually a supporting performance, but more of a lead performance. I get that, but I'm calling it a supporting performances for the purposes of this episode. No surprise, Stellan Skarsgård, great performance. Like, that's like all he does. Whether you're talking about like his TV work in his Star Wars TV show, or you're talking about Dune, or you're talking about this, like he's one of the most dependable actors working.
Or you're talking about his actors on actors time with his son when they're
fantastic. Amazing. Some of the best television I've seen in years. So good. Also, Jeffrey Wright, highest to lowest, is one of my nominees. I think he's actually quite good in this movie, and mostly a comedic performance, but when he is called on for the dramatic moments, of course it works, because Jeffrey Wright, to me, is one of the best working actors today. I just think he's so good. I'm glad we live in a world now where he has been an Oscar nominee, because like he is one of the best. The last two, Delroy Lindo in Sinners. In many ways, the heart of the movie and representative of the older generation, hoping that the next generation does better than what he has gone through. And Jacob Elordi from Frankenstein, another really great physical performance, and one of those that could be one of the best surprise performances if you didn't think much of him before this. I think he's really, really great. You want to talk about the heart of the movie? Absolutely. He is the heart of the movie. And it's crazy that he was not the originally cast. It was going to be Andrew Garfield. And then Andrew Garfield had to bow out to be in something else. And Jacob Elordi, and I can't imagine anyone else playing that role now. I mean, it's just so good. Same. My winner, though, is Delroy Lindo from Sinners for all the reasons that I mentioned. Really, really excellent performance.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of great stuff that I almost wanted to try to squeeze in here. My 5 includes the likes of Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, so we cross over there, Dave. But I also have Miles Catton for Sinners, Jacoby Jupe for Hamnet, Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value, and Tim Key for The Ballad of Wallace Island. These are the more underappreciated performances of the year. I'm actually going to give it to Jacoby Jupe for Hamnet for this one. For some similar reasons as to what I talked about with Tiana Taylor. There's a moment where the narrative asks Jacoby Jupe to no longer be part of the movie for very particular reasons, and yet his ghost still lingers, and the effect of that lingering is why the movie is so effective for me. If this performance didn't work, I'm not even sure if the film works for me all that much. There was a lot of great stuff happening outside of Jacoby Jupe's performance, but in many ways, the sweetness and the bravery of Hamnet as a young person, the fact that his death was essentially an almost sacrificial act for his twin sister in some ways. The beauty of that gesture is why this movie lingers and why it is so effective by the end for me. And why that sequence at the end that JD loves so much, I think is so resonant because of how great his performance lingers. And the fact that the movie then goes as far as to cast his actual brother to play Hamlet on the stage, Noah Jupe, is a thing of meta beauty. But in a way, like it's a testament to Noah Jupe's performance as well, that he's not trying to overtake the movie, that, oh, I'm Noah Jupe, you might recognize me from the Quiet Place movies or something like that. In a way, him being here helps you remind us how great Jacoby Jupe was. So that ghost still lingers throughout the movie as well. So I think his performance is really the key reason why this movie works, and he's holding it together so well that I think it's quite great.
Yes, I deeply, deeply love that performance. As I noted, Jacoby Jupe was one of my nominees for Best Movie Discovery, and he also makes it into this lineup for me as well for Best Supporting Actor. My other 4 nominees here are Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value, Benicio del Toro, One Battle After Another, And my last nominee here is Ray Fiennes, 28 Years Later.
It's a great nom.
My winner here, though, like I very much considered Jacoby Jupe for this as well. And probably my number 2 for Discovery there behind Ava Victor. But I am going to go with Stellan Skarsgård for sentimental value. Gotcha. I think this is one of his very best, if not his best performance. I will admit some biases here up front. I think so much of what I love about this film, and I know it's a weird comparison, I keep bringing it up, but it reminded me so much of what I love about Nick Nolte in Warrior, because you have a father here. In this case, he's a filmmaker. He is estranged from his 2 daughters, and throughout a lot of the film, there's ambiguity as to what really happened. And even by the end of the film, we're never given full answers as to what it is. But the film certainly gives us enough clues along the way. We do see how his upbringing informed the strained relationship that he ultimately has with his 2 daughters. Mm-hmm. And he gets to a point in his life where he writes a movie that is his Fablemans, much like we saw with Steven Spielberg, and he really wants to wrestle with those demons. So he writes a part for his daughter, and that's the only actress that could play that role, which is what I really do love about the Elle Fanning performance here. And she's really great. She was maybe my number 6 for Best Supporting Actress. I do think she's quite incredible in that film as well. But as that film plays out, you get a father who wants to make a movie with his daughter who wants nothing to do with him, really. Yeah. And when we see what her trauma is, when we see the lengths and the extremes of where her life took her as a result of that generational abuse, or however that looked for her, it's quite incredible how that final scene comes together. And even with Agnes, I think one of the more underrated scenes of that film is that moment when Agnes is talking to Gustav about her starring in that film when she was a child. And it was the greatest thing that ever happened to him or to her. But when he left, it just left this gaping hole that she could never fill. Again, it's quite devastating. So again, the Nolte Warrior-esque thing of bringing 2 siblings together, that is very much what happens here. And you tailor that to that idea of art working as a coping mechanism, which I just love. I just absolutely love that idea, and how that crystallizes here, I just think is great. And Stellan Skarsgård's performance in all of that, I love the nuances of it. I love the complications he brings along the way, the ego, the regret, the longing that he portrays in his performance. It slays me. And also, underratedly, he fosters one of the funniest moments of the year when he gives his grandchild those DVDs. And incredible. Great. so good.
What, Gaspar Noé doesn't make kids movies? I thought he did.
It turns out. But, and again, I think what I love about so many of these performances is that, you know, a lot of it lingers subtly. Like it's in these quiet moments, these still moments that Skarsgård just absolutely kills, that I love. So, yeah. I mean, maybe it's a bit of a cheat because you could argue it's a lead role, to your point, Dave. But he is given a lot to do here, and I think he absolutely uses that to his advantage.
Yeah. I think many people have now agreed that it is technically by definition a supporting performance, just given how they're going to categorize it. But I don't necessarily disagree that it does feel like a lead performance in some ways.
And also, none of it matters because there are no rules that the Academy puts forward. There's no time rules. There's no... They do whatever they want. Yeah. Like
they break their own rules. Yeah.
Like, I mean, they put up Josh O'Connor in Knives Out as a supporting actor. He's in like every scene in that dang movie. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
he's the lead. Okay, now he's the lead in that movie.
Nope, sorry, it's the Benoit Blanc movie, so he's supporting. That's
Yeah.
So
also,
none of it matters.
we can't nominate Hans Zimmer's Dune 2 score because it has themes from Dune 1, but yet we've nominated John Williams for the same Star Wars stuff for
so
forever.
True.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Best adapted
What are we
score
doing?
coming next year. That's
just unbelievably dumb.
Best adapted
anyway.
score. Gosh, we don't need more categories unless it's best stunt work.
Anyway, Skarsgård is great. One of my favorites of the year, hands down. All right, best actress. Good luck.
Yep.
I don't know where to go. I'm still in limbo here. Maybe you guys will solidify.
Why is this category always one of the hardest ones every year?
It really is. It's every year it's tough. All right. So my nominees: Rose Byrne from If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Jennifer Lawrence from Die My Love, Kathleen Chalfant from Familiar Touch, which I mentioned earlier, Tessa Thompson from Hedda, and Emma Stone from Begonia.
Oh, good choice.
My hot take is that this is Emma Stone's best performance. It is not getting nearly the awards pub and love that her previous performances are, but man, I was really struck by her physical performance in this movie.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree.
Like just making you completely unsure of what you're seeing basically throughout the runtime. Plemons is also really good, but to me, this is Stone's movie for sure. But my winner is Rose Byrne. I put my biases out there already. Rose Byrne is one of my favorite actors working. Great dramatic and comedic. And this movie gives her the opportunity to do both. And it culminates in that final scene that we talked about, that if you don't have a tremendous performer in that moment, it's laughable because it's asking a lot of the audience. And, it also, Bronstein also makes the really wonderful decision to basically focus the camera on Byrne for 99.9% of the film. And it forces you to engage with her, even if she's not reliable. She is really all you have to cling to. And Rose Byrne just does such a tremendous job of having a character with a lot of different levels, and you're not sure how much to believe her, but you feel like you have no choice but to be on her side, even when she's making some decisions that make you like just tear your hair out. Like there is a scene in this movie with, I will say, a tube that is one of the most disturbing sequences of the year. I almost wanted to not look at what was happening because I was so kind of disgusted by what was on screen, but Byrne really makes it all work. So Rose Byrne, my best actress, just fantastic.
And I'm glad you mentioned the cinematography and how it captures her as a performer in this movie. And I almost nominated the film for best cinematography primarily for that reason. The movie almost feels like it's in first person for how much it's just limited on her, even though it's technically not. Yeah, it's right there all the time. She is also a nominee for me for all of those reasons. I also have Susan Shardy for On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, Imogen Poots for The Chronology of Water, Renata Reinsve for Sentimental Value, and Ava Victor for Sorry Baby. I will make this 2 for 3, at least at this point now. Rose Byrne is also my winner for all of the reasons that Dave highlighted there. I will just say for how many movies we got this year that all encompass some type of similar theme, right? As you mentioned, JD, 2025 was all about parental trauma as it relates to childhood tragedy in some way, right? Sometimes a bit more direct in that idea, sometimes a bit more abstract in that idea, but high level, that's what I feel like the theme of 2025 was. And I feel like the representation of that theme kind of begins and ends with Rose Byrne's performance in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I feel like it's kind of the thesis statement of that theme in many ways. And it's one of the most challenging performances of the year. And that's why she ultimately gets my pick. As you said, Dave, any other performer who is not able to find some type of balance between reliable and unreliable, but also sometimes kind of funny, but also devastating at the same time. If you cross that line one way or another too much, the performance doesn't work. This is a performance, and the way that the character is written, Linda as a character here, the way that she's written, you can easily crash and burn. And the movie just falls apart because of that. Somehow she holds it together. And I think it's terrific work. Really terrific.
And there's like 100 points where it could go wrong. Like it's
honestly, every scene could have crashed and burned.
Yep.
And it doesn't. It's my favorite performance of the year as far as female performances are concerned.
Yeah, it's a great performance. I echo everything you guys are saying. It's a nominee for me as well. As far as my other nominations here, man, this was real tough. So I ended up with Jennifer Lawrence in Die My Love.
Okay.
Jessie Buckley in Hamnet. Renate Ryansev for Sentimental Value. And my last nominee here, a late addition, is Imogen Poots for The Chronology of Water.
Great choice. That was the same thing with me.
Before I get into my winner here, I do want to note that during my individual awards that I would circle back to them later on in the conversation. We have arrived at that point really for two reasons. One, Imogen Poots, The Chronology of Water, that would have been my pick for best overlooked performance, but I left her off that list knowing that she was going to make my 5 here. It's understandable why it's overlooked. The film just came out this last weekend, so
I was going to say best unlooked performance.
Yes. So it's understandable. Like that's another reason I guess I left it off as well, but it's going under the radar, even in terms of marketing. There's no marketing behind that movie. It's just people like us that have seen it trying to champion and get it out there. So it's just underseen and undermarketed, but I do hope people go and see it. It's really good. The other thing about my individual awards is that I essentially had Best Actress Part 2. Because there are 7 other, and I stopped myself there because I certainly could have kept going. But at some point on this list for me was Chase Infinity, Tessa Thompson, Emma Stone, Amanda Seyfried, Susan Shardy, who is the lead actress in Unbecoming a Guinea Fowl, Jodie Comer, and Eva Victor. All of them were on this list at some point or another.
They're all so great.
They're all great. Names. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Like Best Actress this year is unbelievably dumb.
It's stupid. And you're right. It's stupid.
It is unreal.
It's
mean. I just had to have a second part because I needed to recognize those names. I desperately needed to recognize them because they're all deserving of being in the 5.
That's fair.
Yeah. So with that said, those are the 5 I landed on, and for completely biased reasons, my winner here is Jessie Buckley.
Okay.
I have championed her the way that Dave has Rose Byrne for forever, going back to Beast a decade ago when I first saw her in that film. And she might have even been the discovery for me that year, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go back and check the archives, but that might have been the case. And then here all these years later, and again, I think part of it is this was the theme in 2025.
Yeah.
And Rose Byrne certainly qualifies for this. Jennifer Lawrence certainly qualifies for this as well. Imogen Poots qualifies for this.
Yeah.
But there's something about Buckley's performance in Hamnet that struck a chord with me in a way that very, very few movies ever have, let alone in the InSession film era. And again, that's where I'm also willing to admit my parental biases for sure. Now, thankfully, I've never had to go through anything like what she does in this film, knock on wood. But to see that character scramble the way that she does, to see her be resistant early on, to see her embrace being a mother. And I think also what's great about Hamnet, and I just don't think this is talked about enough, that movie is as much about life and celebration as it is about death and grief. Yeah. And that's the element of her performance that I love. Like, I think she gets into that polarity impeccably. So I think of scenes like Judith's birth, for example. Her performance throughout all of that, I think, is stunning. Or that moment after William leaves to go back to London and Hamnet is distraught again, and she has to have a conversation with him there. And it's so full of life and beauty. And obviously it's heartbreaking foreshadowing at the same time. But I do think that film is purposefully putting as much life into it, knowing that it is about to do the most heartbreaking thing a mother could ever experience.
Sure.
And in the aftermath of it, like in the immediate aftermath, you get the scream. And look, in that moment, you're going to get something guttural, something innately visceral. But in the aftermath of the death, a lot of what she's doing there is incredibly stoic.
That's
it
the better
is
part
all
of it,
internalized.
Yeah.
And that to me is the best part of that performance, when she's at the play and she has no idea what's going on, utterly confused. But she doesn't have to say anything to verbalize that. Or when she reaches out to the actor on the stage, she doesn't have to say anything for us to understand that emotional response.
Right.
And I was deeply, deeply blown away by that incredible amount of subtlety and internalization. And it blew me away. Or I think about like her like quietly calling out to William there on the stage as he turns around. Like, it's those quiet, tender moments that do most of the heavy lifting for me, as much as the death scene itself and the urgency of the matter. All of that certainly carries a weight, but it's the stillness in the aftermath of it that I think gives Buckley that extra for me as far as this category is concerned.
It's a great performance.
But you could also flip a coin. Like if you could pick any of not just my other 4 nominees, but your guys' nominees or any of these others that we listed, I wouldn't bat an eye. Would not
an
push back at
embarrassment
all.
of riches. Like just,
As we said, stupid.
Absolutely. Ridiculous. All right. We have one more category left for the 2025 InSession Film Awards. It is Best Actor. What do you guys have for this category? Dave, kick us off.
All right. I've got first in a dual role, Michael B. Jordan in Sinners. I think it is a particularly difficult thing to do, to play a dual role and have them be completely recognizable as individuals. And I think he absolutely does that. And also his line reading of "Nah, we cousins" is maybe the best thing I've heard.
Cousins. I love that.
Fantastic. Like, remember seeing it in the trailer and I was like, okay, this movie rules already. And I was happy to see I was right. Leonardo DiCaprio in One Battle After Another. It takes a very special kind of movie star to play a screw up. And it's been a long time since we've seen it recently in the last couple years, but before that, seeing Leo as kind of a little bit of a doofus and a comedic actor, we've gotten to see that with Tarantino's movie, and now here, and I think we forget how gifted he is at comedy. That elongated sequence with him on the phone, some of the best stuff all year. Like, it's so good. It's so good. And his we talk about line readings, his line reading of life. It's just like one of the best. Like, I also saw something on Twitter which really tickled me that said, "This is how I know Leo is one of the greatest actors of all time. I know that rich man has never spent any time on hold with anyone in customer service, and yet in this sequence he channels that experience so well. He has people for that, and yet he finds a way to do it." And also a really moving emotional performance. That reuniting scene near the end of the film, absolutely, like, I was in tears. So like, good. Beautiful.
It's kind of amazing. It's kind of amazing how DiCaprio has just now done 3 movies where he is so good at playing a complete dimwit in some ways. Yeah, because you mentioned
that's a skill.
With One Battle After Another and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but also Killers of the Flower Moon. He's kind of a dimwit in that movie.
And in that one, he's like an evil dimwit. Like, it's a very different performance. But I mean, it's been said time and again, he is one of those that, like, great movie star and great actor, and those two things don't always coincide. So Tom Cruise, I can be a great actor, but it's usually just a great movie star. Leo does it all. Timothée Chalamet, I mean, what can you say about this young actor? Like, he is pompous. He is full of himself. He's probably kind of a jerk. But man, he is a really talented actor. Do I think this is the best performance of his career? No. But for just about any other actor, this would be the best performance of their career. I think he's really, really excellent here. And there's been a lot of discussion online about, like, should you like this character or should you not? I don't really care. It's a great performance. It's pretty fantastic. He brings with him an energy that is unmatched. It's one of those things that if you replace him with another actor in this movie, the movie really suffers. This movie needs that particular crazy puppy dog manic energy that he brings. You can argue until the cows come home about whether the ending is earned or not, but I do know that Timothée Chalamet gives a great performance in this movie.
Absolutely.
Wagner Moura from The Secret Agent, my goodness. This is really incredible to watch because as the movie goes, you see so many different sides of him. You see at the beginning, you see this side of him that is removed from everything or attempting to be. And then you see him as a doting father. And then you see him as almost a revolutionary. Like you see all these different pieces, and his performance is what is able to take all those pieces and somehow make a complete character. It would be very easy for one of those to be dominant and the others to fall to the wayside. And you never feel that. And it all wraps up with him playing that character's own son. And he manages to make that a brand new character too. Really just critics throw this term around like a tour de force performance. This is a tour de force performance. Wagner Moura is incredible in The Secret Agent. And my final nomination is Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon. Blue Moon is a movie that I like. I don't love. But Ethan Hawke is phenomenal in this movie. You want to talk about owns the screen. He definitely owns the screen in this movie. It's basically, and the movie kind of calls it out with Bobby Cannavale's character, the bartender, kind of talks about, everyone orbiting around a central force. Ethan Hawke is that central force in this movie. And it's been really interesting to watch his career because I am old enough to remember when Ethan Hawke was like, he's that cute kid from Dead Poets Society. And he tried to do Hamlet. Isn't that adorable? That didn't really work. And you thought like, he's just going to be like a good looking actor who doesn't really do that much. And now looking back, he's become one of the best actors of a generation. I think he's truly incredible. He's also one of the people I love to hear talk about movies and the craft of acting more than anyone else. He really knows what he's talking about, really knows what he's doing. And he manages to play a character that is sometimes annoying, sometimes heartbreaking, always entertaining. And he manages to complete it all in this movie. And it's a really tough task. This very much feels like a one-man show on Broadway. And that is both to the movie's advantage and disadvantage at different points. But Ethan Hawke really carries this movie on his shoulders. And God bless him for being, quote unquote, brave enough to play a short man. Good for you, Ethan Hawke. You managed it all in this movie. But my winner, apparently this is my thing on this show, JD. I need to watch more Brazilian cinema because last year it was Fernando Torres. This year it is Wagner Moura. Wagner Moura, Best Actor for The Secret Agent.
Good stuff.
He's a nominee for me as well as Timothée Chalamet for Marty Supreme, so we cross over there. But I have a few others here to highlight to showcase that Best Actor is also a bit of an embarrassment of riches this year in 2025. Joel Edgerton for Train Dreams is another nominee for me. While he was also a surprise performance, I think it's also one of the best performances of the year in the male category, and that's Dylan O'Brien for Twinless. I'm actually going to include him here as a nominee. And for my final one, I don't care what the rules say. Josh O'Connor for Wake Up Dead Man is also a nominee.
All three of those on my short list. Yeah.
Well, honestly, I should have just said for Josh O'Connor, my pick for what performance would be yes.
Yeah, all of them. Pick them, whatever.
Whatever one floats your boat, because I do agree with you, Dave, as far as rebuilding. That I know you cited that as your favorite of his performances in 2025, and that might be my number two. But honestly, like, they're so different. I love the versatility and how great he is and giving new things to each of these performances.
Yeah.
I got to stop agreeing with Dave. I really do. This is getting kind of weird.
Welcome to the right side of history, my friend.
I love it, man. I love it. Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent is my pick for my win here for Best Leading Actor. For all the reasons you talked about, but what I love so much about it too, and we talked about this, JD, when we reviewed the film, we often respond more to internalized performances that are doing things that are a bit more cryptic, yet Wagner Moura's performance here in The Secret Agent is so internalized. I don't even know if I have words to describe it. It's almost beyond classification in a way. It is so internalized that to the point that it becomes kind of this aura of hypnotic mystery as to what this character is, what he's experienced. And a lot of that is also attributed to the filmmaking and the writing and keeping things a little bit more close to the chest and choosing not to reveal things to us. But even when it does reveal things to us, Wagner Moura relishes in the choices as a human being and what this means for a person like this in a dictatorial rule in Brazil. The fact that he is simply just standing up for not just what he believes in, but also defending his own wife, a simple gesture like that, and he has to relish in the consequences of how simple that is.
Yeah.
I think that's why I love his performance so much, because there's also a little bit of confusion in his performance as to why is a simple gesture like this enough to want people to want me dead.
Right.
And in a way, he's kind of an audience cipher at the same time.
Like, wait, I have a death threat? What?
Yeah.
What?
But that's like becomes kind of an audience cipher in that regard, because we're asking those same questions. And I think that's why we respond to him, because there's almost something relatable about the uncertainty of this world. And then when he has to go play his son in the final coda of the movie and give a very different performance for a brief moment of time, just shows how versatile that it is. So certainly one of the most hard to define performances of the year. And that's what makes it great for me, because I just can't say I've really seen anything like it in quite some time.
Good stuff. Well, for all the reasons you guys have mentioned, Wagner Moura, The Secret Agent, is a nominee for me as well. So finally, it does crack the 5. I do really like the film. I promise. I do love it.
We made it, guys. We made it.
The other 4 nominees for me.
Watch, when we get to our top 10, JD's going to have it as number 1 of the year or something.
Wouldn't that be the surprise? That'd be quite the surprise. The other 4 nominees for me, I have Joel Edgerton in Train Dreams, Leonardo DiCaprio, One Battle After Another, and I do think that it's arguably his best performance. Yeah. I deeply, deeply love it.
Okay.
I also have Timothée Chalamet for Marty Supreme, and that actor that we've talked about quite a bit here tonight, Josh O'Connor, he's been in a lot of things this year. The performance for me, though, is The Mastermind, and that is my last nomination here.
It's good stuff.
Do really love him in that film. And I think what's interesting here, I guess I didn't really consider it up until this point, but there's 3 nominees here that very much qualify in that watchable asshole category. And that ended up being quite the theme on the male side of things. I hadn't really considered that until we got into this conversation. But yeah, I do love that about O'Connor and Chalamet and DiCaprio in those films, and certainly some of their very best work respectively.
Sure.
I do think in most years, this would be Leonardo DiCaprio for me quite easily. Again, I think that's maybe his best performance, but I hate to be trite here because he's on his way to the Oscar, but in a lot of ways, I do think Chalamet was born to be Marty Supreme, that watchable, lovable, hateful asshole. And he's so great in that film. I do really love it. And that is my winner here for Best Actor. There's just something about how he taps into that ego and that bravado that is wonderfully deconstructed in Josh Safdie's screenplay and in his direction as the film goes on. And we've talked about it quite a bit over the last few weeks with the endo sequence, which was that your number 1, Brendan? Or in your top 3, right?
It was in my top 3, or it was somewhere in my top 5, but yeah, it was very close to being the best.
Yeah, it was in your top 5. It was my number 7 scene of the year, I believe. It was in my top 10. But that whole sequence and how that changes for the character and how it's born out of being humbled. He is forced into humility. And that's the interesting dichotomy of Marty throughout the film, is that he talks about ping pong as it's the next best thing since sliced bread. But then he ends up touring the world with the Harlem Globetrotters. And then the next thing you know, he's in an apartment with his pants around his ankles being spanked just so he can go to Japan. And this comes about in the aftermath of, a gas station sequence going horribly wrong, trying to get a dog out of a house that goes horribly wrong, a tub that falls through a floor that leads to a severe injury. Like just everything in his life goes in the wrong direction, and he's forced to be humble, and it veers into this final sequence, this final scene of at the end of that's been weirdly polarizing. But I think Chalamet, what he brings to it in terms of that tender quality and that emotion, there's just something about it. He's just very, very, very good at tapping into it in an organic way that gives credence to the character and those emotions. And it's beautiful. I love it. I love how he's able to play with that ego and that confidence that we see in Marty throughout the film, and how that ultimately leaves room for humility. It's pretty brilliant. So yeah, my winner here is Chalamet.
Nice.
So
good stuff.
That's the InSession Film Awards 2025.
Oh my gosh. I think this was longer than last year.
It probably was. You guys would not stop talking. No, I'm just kidding.
You guys, just kidding. What are you talking about? As if it was not your fault too.
No, it's just how it is every single year. You know, we always talk about trying to make this shorter, but here we are. But that'll do it for part one. Part one is over. Stay tuned for part two. That will be our top 10 movies of the year. So we are not quite done. But thank you for listening and sticking with us here all the way to the end. Thanks to Brendan and Dave for being here. We hope everyone enjoyed all of our nominations, our winners. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we get out of here for part one?
I guess I better figure out what my top 20 of the year
you need to figure out a top 10. Yep, gotta get that finalized before we get to Best Picture. So
finalize my this will change every day.
It'll change, yeah. We'll talk about it on next week's episode, but in a year from now, it'll be totally different, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it will. It's gonna change.
But that's the fun part of it. But yeah, stay tuned for part two, our top 10 movies of 2025. That's coming out very, very soon. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. We will see you all next time on the InSession Film Podcast.